Hey everybody, and welcome back to another season of The Mainstream. I have not done this show in I think 4 years. It's been a while. I did it right. I think I was doing it right before I moved to California, and then after that, I got so busy with a million other shows that this kind of went on the backside for a little bit. But I decided to bring it back because you know what? Why not? This is another show where we can talk about movies. It's kind of like the Hollywood Boulevard podcast, except I think it's going to have somewhat of different themes. This year, right now, is I'm going to be doing two franchises and talk about them. But the first franchise up is The Karate Kid. But before we get into all of that, I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with my special guest for this episode. Please welcome John Ward. How you doing, John?
I would like for you to refer to me as John Tiger Ward because of what we're doing. I have to have a karate name
Why do you have to have a karate name?
because we're doing the Karate Kid.
I mean,
And you know what makes me really excited about this one? So I watched it twice. So now it's been three times. I have took extensive notes and I am very excited to talk about Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. So let's get into the Karate Kid. I'm very excited about this.
um, Johnson. I'm gonna call you Johnson. You
Tiger.
know, no, all right, Tiger. Hey, Tiger. No, that sounds like I'm talking to like a little. Hey, Tiger.
It's all in how you say it. But I'm very
Um,
excited about this. I cannot
all
wait to
right,
talk.
Tiger. I Damn, we are talking about a different Karate Kid. The 1984
The
one.
cartoon?
No, the 1984. That's the 1989 one. I did watch a little bit of that, but no, this one.
Oh, so we're talking about the original?
The original 1984 Karate Kid starring Ralph Macchio and what? You're not happy to talk about Pat Morita? Mr. Miyagi?
I thought we were going to talk about Jackie Chan
No.
and Jaden Smith because I'm a huge Jaden Smith fan. So I'm sorry, dude.
Well, I'm
I
sorry to
watched the wrong
disappoint
movie.
everybody
Can we
who
come
was
back to this in 2 hours and I'll rewatch the other one?
sure. Let's go back.
Okay. And pause. Now we're back. Hey, we're back. I just watched the Karate Kid with Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio. Yes,
And that I've seen literally 100 times.
a
And I
hundred
say
times.
that because I worked at the movie theater in Northern California in Marin County called the Tamalpais. And the Tamalpais Theater, which Cliff Macmillan, my buddy, was manager at, and I was an usher. And we played all the movies that were not going to make money. So we played all the Canon films. We played all the Empire Pictures films. We played a little movie called A Nightmare on Elm Street that they didn't think was going to make any money.
Okay, so these are the movies that got sent because people thought they weren't going to make money.
Yeah, and then we got The
The
Karate
Karate
Kid.
Kid, because for a long time, if I'm correct, The Karate Kid was not a movie that like people thought was going to make just from that title,
No.
you know,
Yeah, and so just like Nightmare on Elm Street, opening night, two people, but then
which
like
is
a week
also
later,
1984, by the way.
huh?
But both of them are 1984. They both came out the same year.
Yes. Okay. So we probably got them like one after another.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like opening night was like two people. And then a few nights later, maybe it was three or four. And then the week after that, it was like 20. Then the week after that, it was like 100. Then a week
So
after
word of
that,
mouth really spread.
to the point of it selling out. And the
Nice.
same thing happened with Nightmare on Elm Street. And I would have to stay inside the theater and watch the movie every single show until the movie left. And so I have probably literally have seen the Karate Kid like 100 times.
Well, that's good.
So
I've probably seen 100 times, but just because I watched it. I'm one of those kids that always, and I still do this to this day, but if I like something, I'll watch it over and over and over again. This and The Princess Bride and, tons of movies that I grew up with, I'll just watch it over and over again.
Yeah, it's well, today I watched it really detailed. So like video wise, I mean, I owned it on VHS and then so I've probably seen it more times. But recently because of Cobra Kai, I've seen it at
Mhm.
least 3 times. And then
Right.
I'll show you because I love doing this is I bought this this collection.
Well, I got this 4K where weirdly enough, I can't find the 4K. It's missing.
Are you sure it came in the box?
Oh, I know. I watched it before. I just don't know where it is right now exactly, but I'll find it. It's here.
That sucks.
It's here. It's
Yeah,
around.
eventually, kind of like the Rocky movies, which I think we should also talk about with this. Um, uh, this eventually, I guess all of these might be 4K in like a box set because the Rocky ones are now in a 4K box set. But this has the Karate Kid Special Edition, um, which has some documentaries and audio commentary and stuff, and then Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, Part 3, which I'm definitely going to talk about, and well later on a different thing, and then the next Karate Kid.
Okay.
So but they're nice. I mean, it's a good collection for people to get. They're like that. So it's and then because I'm a huge fan, just like you are, this is one of my favorite series. I also got all of the Cobra Kai's too.
Nice.
Season 5 just came out, but I haven't picked it up yet.
I
So
haven't bought them and I should because I mean, with Netflix, anything can go, even their actual, because this wasn't actually Cobra Kai wasn't actually like their property to begin with. It became their property, but we'll
yeah, it
get
was
into all
YouTube.
that when we do the Cobra Kai show. So
Yeah.
the plan right now, as of right now, is to do each month I'll do another Karate Kid movie. It'll be Karate Kid 1, then Karate Kid 2, then Karate Kid 3, the next Karate Kid. And then I'm debating putting out the Jaden Smith one or not,
See,
doing
I
that.
want to be on part 3 and I want to be on the Jaden one if you decide on doing it. So,
Okay.
and I definitely have to be on the
And
Cobra
then we're
Kai.
gonna do the Cobra Kai show, and then which will kind of wrap everything up and into a nice little bow and get ready for like the next one that comes out later this year, which we both had put out down as our anticipated, like least anticipated movies or whatever, but I don't understand what they're doing.
I don't understand when the creators did Cobra Kai, they said that if it was not within the Mr. Miyagi universe, it doesn't count.
Right.
And I guess, and I mentioned this to you, that I guess if since Jackie Chan's character is not Mr. Miyagi and Jaden Smith's character is not Daniel, they I guess it could technically still be in the same universe, just
Miyagi
in a
verse, yeah.
different place.
Because I
So
think they were trying to say that so people understood that like Jaden's not going to appear on the show. Jackie Chan won't appear on the show, and that could have also been a budget thing, like they just can't afford, those guys. Though then again, I think they can afford Jaden with
and I
the
think
dad
they
being
could
a
afford
producer.
Jackie these days. I mean, the guy hasn't really had a hit movie in America in a very long time. And I don't like the idea that the two worlds that coexist. I don't like
Yeah.
so when that trailer came out, that like teaser trailer where we're looking for the next Karate Kid, and I have a feeling this is not going to be. This is already set up that the next Karate Kid will be a girl, like a young girl, probably like a young black
Well,
girl,
I mean,
something
they can
like
say
that.
Karate Kid and
It's
it be boy or girl. You know what I mean? Like they
yeah,
could.
but in today's politics,
Well, what I'm saying is like,
you know,
so if they want to if that's what they want to do is they want to have it be a girl, you know, but they kind of understand like the next Karate Kid didn't do very well. Like that wasn't, even though it has like an Oscar-winning fucking actress in it, it didn't do very well.
well, Oscar afterwards,
Yeah, yeah, Oscar afterwards, but still, she
you know.
even in that movie, she did a fucking great job. Nobody can ever say Hilary Swank didn't do
I
a good
like the
job.
next Karate Kid. I really have no problem with it because back then it seemed to make sense that okay, we've had 3 movies with Daniel. Let's bring in a girl. that made sense. But with today's politics, now it seems just like a diversity thing. Oh, let's just do a gender swap. Oh, let's just do, it doesn't seem natural that they'll probably force something. And I bet that
Right.
there probably won't even be technically tryouts, that it's already planned. And I really hope that they mention Mr. Miyagi in this. I
I think
bet
they
Jaden
will.
Smith will have a cameo. I wouldn't doubt that he might, because of this, he
Well,
might even
if
have a
Jackie's
cameo in
gonna be in it, most
six.
likely Jaden will have a cameo. I think it's silly though because like so many people do not like that one. So many people. So I don't know.
Well,
All
and
right,
there's the confusion with the name that it really should be the
Kung
Kung
Fu
Fu
Kid.
Kid, and the producers like, oh well, I wanted to keep the name for recognition. And then of course the Smith family owns the Karate Kid rights. And so that's why their names are always in the credits for Cobra Kai.
Except for
So
Jaden. Jaden never produced it, I guess. So
it's three members. It's like Jada and then like two of the brothers. I don't even think Will Smith is listed, but it's like two
no,
other
Will Smith
family
is
members.
listed on
Is he
the
listed? So
credits.
it's
Yeah.
Jada, Will, and I think somebody else. That's a
Jada
Smith.
Pinkett? I don't think
I
she's
think
on
she
that. I don't
I
think she is.
I think she's, I don't think it's Jada Pinkett Smith. I think it's just like Jada Smith. I could
I
be
don't know.
wrong. I'm
I
pretty
don't.
sure it's three
Anyway,
Smiths.
we're getting off topic because we're talking about other Karate Kids that are not.
Well, it will lead. I think it will lead into this. Now, here's something I found interesting about this movie is, and I forgot until I watched the ending credits. DC is part of this.
What do you mean?
DC Comics have had a character named the Karate Kid,
Okay.
and Columbia had to buy the name the
That
Karate Kid.
doesn't that sound like just like Ghostbusters, you know?
Probably Columbia once again. And yeah, so at the end of the Karate Kid, it says like the Karate Kid title, or the Karate Kid is part of like DC.
Nice.
So I guess that they still have to acknowledge that it's a comic book from DC.
So, Karate Kid. So we're doing those Karate Kid, and then after that, I'm actually doing Ghostbusters. One, two, uh, and I think I'm gonna do the 2016 one as well, and the Afterlife. And if I think it'll be out by the time that the new one, Frozen Empire, is out. So we'll probably do that as well. And well, that's how we'll end or maybe talk about the cartoons too. So
Hey,
it's gonna.
I would be up for 2016. I've
I
actually
know
seen
you
it
will, because you
twice.
love bashing things that you don't like. I don't know.
I love
See,
pointing out their flaws.
I
Yeah,
know.
there's plenty of them.
I mean, the thing is, if you're gonna listen to a podcast about like the 2016 Ghostbusters, or the 2000, what was it, 10? Was that the Karate Kid? Um,
2000.
2010. That was right. Wow. I'm pretty good at dates, weirdly enough. What was that? Stop. Um, so 2010 Karate Kid, the Jaden one. If you're gonna be talking about that, a lot of people are gonna talk about how bad it is, or whatever and stuff. So people that are listening to podcasts about them,
It's
you
just
know,
it's a depressing film. It's so like the scene with Mr. Miyagi in this one that the studio wanted to cut, which he got the nomination for, which
mhm.
was him talking about his dead wife, to
And it was
Daniel.
drunk or whatever, the drunk scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and that when watching it this time, I'm like, oh, guaranteed that's the scene that got him the nomination. And then while I was watching the documentary, it's just the director is like, oh yeah, that's the scene that got him the nomination.
Right.
And of course, the studio, because studios have no idea what they're doing, wanted to cut it. Oh, it slows down the movie. No, it doesn't. It's the best scene in the film. And when you look at the remake, that scene with Jackie Chan is about how his wife, and I don't know if a baby was involved, but or like his wife being pregnant, but she does die in a car crash. And every year he rebuilds the car. So he has the car in his living room, and I guess he
And,
puts it all together
and then
and
takes it
then
apart.
takes it all apart. And it's like, this is just depressing. I get nothing from this at all. This is just
This is a bad
sad
idea
and
too.
yeah, and
Like
kind
this
of
is
pathetic.
all
Do
right, all right.
something
Well,
else.
let's once again trying to go back to the original movie. So let's start talking about the story of the film and everything.
It's Rocky,
In a way, yeah. So
except he
the
wins at the end.
yeah. So at that time they had just done I think Rocky 1 and 2. I think he had already done 2 as well where they won. Where Rocky 2 he wins,
Yeah, Rocky one he doesn't win. Of course, that's with the director of Karate Kid
Yeah, and then do you think that maybe the Rocky 2 because it was Sylvester Stallone directing it, he said he
and
had to
writing
win
it.
and
Yeah,
writing
so
it.
then he wins.
Okay, so Rocky 2, Rocky 3 was 1982, Rocky 4 was 1985. So they'd already done Rocky 1, 2, and 3, and John G. Avildsen was the only director of the first one and the fifth one, but he did not direct the he did not direct 2 or 3. So 2 or 3 had already come out, and I guess John G. Avildsen was looking for something else to do, and they come across the script for The Karate Kid. It sounds very cheesy, sounds very whatever, and the story being that this young high school kid who moved from and we even seen it before this movie, this kind of story, like a fish out of water tale of a kid coming and moving to the new town and dealing with everything that's not right in the town. Sometimes it's an adult that's not a kid, but in this situation it was a high school kid who felt really sort of new. People are kind of treating him bad. He meets a hot girl. She has an ex-boyfriend who is still obsessed with her, which I don't blame him. Elizabeth. By the way, did you know that this year was the year that I realized it was Elizabeth Shue and not Elizabeth? I've always called her Elizabeth, but it's Elisabth. Elizabeth.
Alyssa, I think everybody just calls her Elizabeth.
I
I didn't
know.
know that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I saw it in the thing. I'm guaranteeing you. Maybe people just still call her Elizabeth and nobody like, thinks two things of it. But like I looked at it and was like, it's Elizabeth? So is that like
She
do
probably
you,
got tired of people, for correcting people. Because I mean, if you
yeah.
look at it, I've brought this up before. It's not Stephen King. His name is Stephen King.
Why? Because it's with an A, I think, at the end and not an
S
E.
T E P, S T
H-A-N,
E P
right?
A H E N. So it's actually technically it's Stephen King, but he just goes off of Stephen King.
Yeah, I think Steven would be Steven, but anyway, whatever. As I'm
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
I don't know. I'm not a Steven, so I can't tell you which if that's how Steh, but yeah, everybody's all called him Stephen King. But anyway, so yeah, he's got a hot girl that he's interested in, and then
she's into him.
she's into him. And they end up sort of dating, but it causes a lot of trouble with the bullies. The bullies that were sort of,
I don't
the
know. There is
boyfriend.
that debate.
There is that debate, but like you can't. I've argued this a million times. You can't win the debate because people are so like one-sided. And even
Daniel's a
Cobra Kai
troublemaker
tries to
too.
show it a little bit, but I'm like, he's still a dick. Like he treats
But
people like
Daniel's kind of a dick. Daniel's kind of this immature guy that like your Johnny, who's this good-looking blonde guy who sees this
rich
strange
blonde guy, by
guy.
the way, rich blonde guy. You
Well,
have to put
and
that in there.
he is rich, and oh, so this is going to be about the rich white man, isn't it? Is that where we're
Rich
going
white
with this?
man versus the poor white man.
The poor Italian man, because
Yeah.
as the director points out, he's from the cannoli part of the country. So it's I don't know. I'm kind of well to mention something. So the writer of this,
Mark Robert Kamen.
Robert Mark
Mark
Robert
Robert
Mark
Kamen.
Kamen
No, I think it's
is
Mark Robert Kamen, but I
I
could
think
be wrong.
Robert's first, isn't it? I just looked
I
at it. Robert Mark Kamen.
Oh, it's Robert Mark Kamen. Okay.
Yeah. So this is actually inspired from his life. That's why, because he's been into karate since I think he said he was um like 14, something like that. And that's been his whole life, has been basic karate, which is why he's done movies like The Power of One. He also did the Transporter series, like one through
And so he's into
three.
martial arts and
Yeah, Taken. He wrote the Taken movies. So a
um
lot of action, martial arts oriented type of stuff.
yeah, screenwriters generally have a style, and they put like that style into whatever. And if you're a martial artist, I'm a martial artist. That was something that I guess you didn't know about me.
I did
I
not.
never told you that before, but I was a martial artist since I was 7. I took karate. I got up to junior black belt, and it was all because of this movie. Because my dad one day sat me down and was like, you don't like soccer, you don't like baseball or football, you're too small. What do you want to do for a sport?" And I said, "I'd like to do karate. And he said, "Great, there's my dad plays racquetball, and still to this day, my dad plays racquetball. And he would do that down at the rec center. And at the rec center, there was a karate class. And I would go there and do my karate while my dad either played racquetball or did weights and stuff, did weights and everything. So yeah, it was
Okay,
fun. It was
cool.
fun for me. I enjoyed it. But the biggest problem was, you had 2 days out of the week that you did it. And those 2 days you couldn't hang out with your friends. You had to go, to school, then you had to go to karate, then you got home. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of times I missed out on a few childhood things because I was doing a lot of my karate, but it taught me a lot about self-defense and you had some information about karate that you learned
Yes, I did not know that it actually did originate in China and then
originally
went
from
over
China.
to Japan.
Moved to
So,
Japan and karate. I had explained to you, yeah, I was aware of that, but then I also was aware that karate actually means empty-handed, which obviously, empty hand. And then wei is do, so there's usually karate do. So empty-handed wei. And we learned that was like basically karate 101 when we were first starting out. They would tell us that to like let new people know about the heritage. And I studied Shorin-ryu karate, Shorin-ryu Shorin-kan. Then later it just became Shorin-ryu or Shorin-kan. They split, and so I found that out later. It was years later, after I'd already left karate, that it split. So now my old sensei just teaches, if he still teaches it, I'm sure he does. He in Virginia where I live, there's the Shorin-ryu karate stuff. So yeah, and I had to start a back to white when I came back to try it again. Even though I was a junior black belt, because there was all brand new stuff.
oh, back to white with the
The
belt.
belt.
I think white.
Yeah. No, back to white belt.
Like what?
Which in Okinawa just means no rope need to hold up pants.
Well, from what the writer has said, is the only reason why there are belts is because of America.
Right.
Americans needed awards, which tells you how stupid we are. Which we already are, probably, I think, the dumbest country on the planet. But it's we have to have that competition. We have to have the colors. We have to have the rewards. You can't just do something to learn it and become better. You have to have the different colors.
Well,
And
as an adult watching this again, I got really mad that Ralph Macchio, who I guess had studied karate in the Y, is what he mentioned in the
yeah,
movie when he was yelling at his mom. But I don't know what belt he was before, or whatever, but all of a sudden now that he's in there, I guess he had to be a black belt in order to
brown
compete.
or up. Yeah, brown or
Yeah,
black.
brown or up. So I think they made him a black belt, and I'm like, he did not earn that. I'm,
No, because Mr. Miyagi steals the belt from the guy that's signing them in.
yes, that's right. You kind of
He
see
steals
that.
it out of like his duffel bag that he has there, and hands it to Elizabeth Shue. or
Yeah.
Allie, and then she goes and
Yeah.
you know puts it on him.
Yep.
And it's funny because Rob Botch has like no idea a key. I think that's what it's called. He has
A
no idea
gi,
how to
the gi.
a gi.
Yeah, that's the
Is that
uniform.
right? But is that how you say it? Gi or
G
a
G
gi?
I gi.
Oh, gi. Okay. So he has no idea how to put it on.
Yeah.
Which the Cobra Kai guys make fun of him. Oh, is mommy not here to dress you?
I love that part. Um,
So I mean, he has like no idea of any of this stuff. None.
I watched Jingle All the Way, and they had a little karate thing in it, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And the little kid, who was the little kid Anakin in the Star Wars things, by the way, he's a little less annoying in Jingle All the Way, but still a little bit annoying. But he's and Arnold Schwarzenegger pulls out his belt and he goes, how do you put this on? And he starts putting it on and he puts it on weird, and then he goes, no, this is how you put it on. And he starts putting it on like he's Rambo or the Karate Kid. He has it like around his head.
Okay.
And he starts going, oh, and I was like, this dude, I was like, this is like the best like action dad, you can ever have. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger should have done more movies where he was a parent, like, well, Commando, I guess, and a few other ones, but like that
I
was
got a
just
kindergarten cop with all the kids.
kindergarten. Well, he was a fake teacher. He was a, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, he was undercover type of thing, but
yeah.
he was still with the kids and all that.
Yeah, he did a great
Oh,
job. Well, except he yelled at them a lot.
yes, which is very funny. Um, it's I noticed two cameos in this that were not technically cameos yet.
Right.
So I didn't notice this until this time. So John Travolta's nephew, who was in Friday the 13th Part 6, he's the guy driving the RV. The
What
guy's, what
RV?
you doing, taking a shit? Remember that in Part 6 where he's driving the RV and it flips
And which
over and
which which part six?
Jason lives?
Oh, Jason Lives. Okay, yeah. I don't
That
remember.
Okay, so and he lives out here in Vegas, and he commented on a few posts of mine, and he said really weird shit. But I'm like, okay, dude. But he's part of the friends on the beach at the beginning,
Oh,
and
cool.
there's a few shots of him like that's Travolta's nephew,
Do you
and
remember his
then
name?
I don't know.
But he doesn't
I
have
don't.
like a line or anything, so he's not credited in the movie, right?
He might be on IMDb type credits, but I don't think
Like
he's actually in
uncredited.
the.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the friends are talking at one point, like when Daniel gets hit, and they're like, "Come on, guy, get up! Come on, come on!" So they're all kind of talking, and then the next one is at the tournament. Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds is there,
Oh,
and he's one of
nice.
the first guys to get his ass kicked, and he's Cobra Kai.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Um, the other one I was thinking of is well, did you know that William Zabka's mother was in the audience, watching the fight and stuff.
yes. From the documentary, he mentions that, and I guess what it was is to fill the seats.
Well,
It
still fill the
was
seats,
bring your
but
friends and your family and their friends so we could fill. So yeah, so
and he
there.
kept getting booed, like off when they were off, like shooting, right? And everything. People are still booing at him. And his mother was trying, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Don't yell at him. He's not like this for real. And because like that is a little like if you're really into your character, people are gonna think you're really like that, or
People get
whatever.
death threats because of that. Actors will get death threats, and they're like, "You realize I'm just an actor. That's
Yeah,
not a
I'm just
real person."
acting,
Yeah. Why are
That's
like if you kill off somebody, you in a movie that you really like, they'll get death threats. Like you
we're
killed
gonna
off my
talk about
favorite
that in
character.
another video, I think. I feel like we're gonna be talking about that later. But
Possibly, possibly.
possibly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
There's so
anyway,
many just good stuff with this.
yeah,
Also, like William Zabka, is that how you say his last
Zapka,
name?
yeah,
Zabka. A lot of people don't know this, but a few movies he was hired because of Karate Kid to play the villain.
right.
So so was it
Back to
was
school. He was in that.
okay, then he's purposely was put into Hot Tub Time Machine because the guys
Ah,
who did Hot Tub Time Machine did Cobra Kai.
Right.
and they not personally purposely hired him as the villain because of Karate Kid.
I kind of liked that cameo because he played like this guy from the 80s who was like betting on whatever with the other guy, and like he was like kind of the jock bully guy, from Hot Tub Time Machine. You've seen it, right?
Oh, I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like and I was like, is that William Zabka? I was like so happy when I didn't know he was and didn't know.
Yeah,
And
and
I
and
watched
then
it, I
he
was like,
was
that's so funny.
I was so happy. Like I didn't know the guy's name at all. I just knew him as Johnny from the Karate Kid. But I was so happy when he showed up on one of my favorite shows in the 80s, which was The Equalizer. And it's he played the Equalizer's son.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, that's the guy from Karate Kid. That's so awesome. So whenever I would see him pop up with something, I was always happy that he was working, that it
So
wasn't just, a one time or two-time thing.
so I'm just a huge fan of his. I love him, and he's in Python 2, which is funny because
That's right.
Pat Morita is in Python 1. So it was hey,
So
or
if they
no,
made a
yeah,
part
something
three,
like
would
that.
there be another Karate Kid person in there?
Maybe Elizabeth Shue. But so anyway, I really loved him, and I was a big fan. I met him at Scared Side Care, right? And he's just a really nice guy. And I said, I got a podcast. Would I be able to interview you? And he said he doesn't do interviews anymore, at least not at horror conventions. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. And he goes, yeah, there's too many people like to just make me out to actually be a bad guy on podcasts, and he just doesn't trust them anymore. And I said,
That's a shame for the people who just
are
enjoy him
actual
and
fans and don't want to
yeah.
like fuck with them or anything. He did get a picture with I did take a picture with him, and I got a picture with Martin Cove, not together, but
And you
separately.
drew like devil horns on him and a pitchfork, and you're like, well, he is the
No.
bad guy.
No, those guys are so nice. Martin Cove, I'm actually Facebook friends with his son, Jesse. And so I mentioned that to him that I knew Jesse. We talked about working together at some point or something. This was before Jesse was on Cobra Kai and kind of got a little bit bigger name for himself. He was like a guy who bullied somebody or bullied the young Martin Cove, young Kreese, and everything. And so he kind
Oh,
of got
okay.
his name blown up and everything. Good for him. And so I told him, and this was, I think, pre-Cobra Kai, right? When I met them, like this was before Cobra Kai came out and everything. And I was just talking to him about, whatever. And he was like, and I said, could I get a picture with you? And he was like, my son. Come on, let's get one.
Nice.
So he was really fucking cool. I liked him. He said he talked to his son, told him he met me and everything, and like yeah, like he's just a really down to earth, nice dude. So it's always funny because when you see a guy like Kreese and like or well, the Kreese character, in these movies, that scene where they go into the Cobra Kai thing and he confronts uh Mr. Miyagi. By the way, if you want to make a cool action hero, make him short. I've learned that. Every cool action hero is short, or Tom Cruise, who is actually short in real life.
He's shorter than me,
Um,
and I'm 5'8".
yeah. So so basically, like Mr. Miyagi, short. Everybody's taller than him, but he still has this presence about him where he's not going to back down, and he's not scared of this dude who's looming over him. The other examples are, of course, like Yoda. Yoda's tiny, yet he can still hold his own and fight his battles, and it's pretty fucking limber. So you want to make action heroes, Bruce Lee, all Bruce Lee stuff. Like you look at him versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like that's kind of the biggest exaggeration of it, you know. But those guys never back down and
Well,
everything,
that's
and so
yeah, you see that a lot of movies where the our hero will kick the ass of everybody that's around his height, and then the last guy to come in is like 7 foot tall.
And
And
they
he's like,
still kick the
oh
ass.
fuck. Yeah,
They still
yeah.
have to kick the ass and stuff, and they do a good job. So I really, Chuck Norris isn't very tall, I don't think. I don't imagine, but he could be, but I thought he always looks kind of short, you know?
Yeah, but
Um,
there are just some of these actors, to kind of go back to you meeting like Martin Cove and stuff, that I've always liked when I see them working. And Martin Cove is another one where it's just like, oh, it's the guy from Cobra. I mean, it's the guy from Karate Kid at that time. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool that he's working. And he did all of those. I think one was called like Steel Justice, like a
mm,
direct to VHS movie. And but we would always watch him because it's the guy from, it's Crease. We got to watch it.
he signed his Rambo 2, I guess it was. I think he was in Rambo 2 picture that he had. Um, I I was actually when I asked him, could I get a picture? Could I get a picture? He actually thought I meant him signing one. So he just
Oh,
grabbed one off and just signed it. And I was like, no, no, I meant like a picture with you.
but I'll take it. Thank you.
Oh, he gave it to me like for free.
I
Like
hope
he
you
was
still
very,
have it.
I do. It's in my, I've got a whole thing of like, of signed pictures and stuff.
Oh,
And that
good.
will, I got to meet Michael Rooker. And I mean, horror conventions are great because they have a lot of these people who've been in a couple horror films, but a lot of people just been in movies, period.
Oh, I'm at that age, and sadly, all of my stuff, like my Mila Jovovich autograph on her poster for her album and her signing her CD, are all gone. I mean, I sold all this shit, and now I kick myself. But way back in the day, I mean, I'm 56. They had in Burbank, when I lived in Pasadena. They had actually probably before that I was still living in Marin, but whatever. They had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was for 1 and 2. So it's whoever was still around from part one. They were all in one area, and I think it was like $10 to get in, and everything was free. You
that
would
was
go in
back
with
in
your
the day when everything was fucking free. Like,
yeah, and from time to time it would be like, hey, give me like $5 and I'll sign a picture, or it would be like you could negotiate. Like
right.
with Monique Gabrielle, I negotiated with her at one of these where I wanted her to sign my Not of This Earth poster, and she goes, "Oh, it's a Jim Wynorski film," and I go, "Yeah, but you're still in it." And she goes, "Buy one of my pictures." And I'm like, "You sign my poster, I'll buy your picture and you sign it." She's like, "Deal." So it was like maybe what's it like $10, something like that. Those were back in the days when conventions were friggin' awesome, and you could
Yeah.
stand there all day and talk to people. And but that's not what it is today. Now, my only time that I've ever, and I didn't meet him, but I saw him perform live, would be Ralph Macchio. I purposely went to see the show with him, which was How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, the
Right.
musical. And he
Musical.
does, yeah, and he mentions in the documentary on Karate Kid that he is a dancer. That's what he started off as, which is why he could do a lot of this, the
Cool
you know,
stuff. Yeah,
all
cool.
that yeah, all the karate stuff is because he's limber and his arms and legs are longer, so it worked well with dancing. So seeing him How to Succeed is I was like, in the audience, just my God, this is the Karate Kid. And even in my Meat Hook Massacre 4, Mikey, who's in that, and he's supposed to be having a dream as the camera's flowing by. As the camera moves by, he purposely goes, Ralph Macchio, because he's supposed to be having like a drunken dream. And he just says it. And I said, why did you say Ralph Macchio? And he goes, because I know you're a fan. So I purposely said Ralph Macchio as the camera went by.
That's funny.
So
Um,
those are my only things with anybody from the cast and crew.
yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing about William Zabka is, he couldn't do free photos. His manager was watching. Sorry, William, I'm getting you in trouble here if you're listening. But he did tell me that if he saw me around, just walking around, get a picture with him. And I did. He came to my
Nice.
table. He came to my Sick Flick Productions
He's
table
like,
and
get up here,
was
get
just
up
going
here.
up there and I go, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" He's like, all right, come on over here. And he took the picture and he was cool. And because to me, look, I love Ralph Macchio. This movie and My Cousin Vinny are like two movies that are like top, up there with some of my favorite films, and everything. So Karate Kid especially. If you can't see because I got this thing behind me, but in the back I have the Karate Kid poster up here because it's one of my favorite films, and I want to have a collection of all my favorite films on posters, or whatever.
Makes sense.
And yeah, so Karate Kid is up there as one of my top ones. It's once again, it's the one that got me into karate, and it's just the one that I absolutely, fell in love with. And as a kid, uh, and I became a karate kid, you know. I didn't. You were joking on me and calling me Moody, the Moody kid. But I didn't. I never. I remember once. The only
Your
time I could have.
name goes along with stuff well. Moody in the morning, the Moody
Right.
kid.
So I was actually when I was in middle school, and I actually was like, I think I was by then like a blue belt or something, which, now that you're saying like, oh, we need all these awards, I mean, it makes me feel all weird, because that's how I grew up, man. Like, just we had tests, we had to show that we knew all the, stuff that gets us to the next belt, and then we would do it. And so I would get up to like blue belt or whatever in middle school, and so I had knowledge of karate, and I had bullies. I had this one kid, Johnny Chapman, say his full name. I don't give a crap.
You
He,
never forget your bullies.
and he came up to me and would just pick on me for no reason except he just didn't like me for whatever. And so he, shoved me up against a wall one day, and all these kids surrounded me, and he wanted me to fight him. And I was this close to doing it, but I was afraid I'd get in trouble because, technically, if you know karate, your hands are a lethal weapon, or an actual weapon, for school and stuff. And if that got out, I could be suspended for fighting for that kind of stuff.
That's what
So
put Nicolas Cage in jail in Con Air because the judge said his hands are lethal weapons.
there you
And
go.
even though
See?
the murder, wasn't, even though he killed the guy by mistake, it was an accident. He still went to jail. So yeah, good
See,
thing
I
you
could
did.
have, there you go. I could, but I would probably wouldn't have killed him. I just would have fought back. I would have probably still got my butt kicked, but the dude was bigger than me. But I still would have fought as hard as I could if I wanted to, but I didn't. And all these people were watching there, so it was Parents' Day, so the parents were watching this happen, and I got saved thankfully by two of my friends, Chanel and Donnell, who came up and said, "Hey, you know, let the kid go." And there you go. That was like my story of my thing. And years later, I was working at the movie store I worked at, and I ring up somebody's key tag, and it's Johnny Chapman, who had a $200 late fee.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was like, "Hey," because I was like, "Did you go to school at my middle school?" He goes, "I don't want to say what it was, but did you go to my middle school?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, that's me. Oh my God." And I was like, Jonathan Moody." He's like, "Oh yeah, he did not remember me whatsoever, but he's like, I remember you, blah blah blah." Because yeah, and I said, he looks at me, and I told him he had a $200 late fee, and he goes, "Oh, because we're buds, you can just delete that, right?" I was like, "Nope." Because, like, even if my manager was around, I still would have said nope, but my manager's the only one who can delete it, and she can only delete it by half, you know, because that's a pretty big fucking fee, and stuff. But no.
But none of that's the point.
Point
The guy
was
was a bully.
the guy was a bully, and I got to have a little bit of,
A little
you
bit of
know,
karma there.
a
A
little
little
bit
bit
of
of fun.
karma there. But honestly, you could just you know, go to another movie scene and rent out a movie and just never tell him that he had a late fee over here. Didn't tell him that though, you know. But anyway, the point was that I did get bullied, so this movie did have a really big, impact on me. Even to, I would watch all the karate movies. I'd watch Kickboxer 2 and the Kickboxer movies. I would watch Only the Strong, and everything Mark Dacascos did. Like, I grew up in the 90s really loving karate. and stuff. And so this movie did this movie did impact me pretty severely. I don't know if it impacted you at all, really like that, or you just
No, not at all.
love it, as it being a
No,
good movie.
it's just a good movie, it brought back feelings of Rocky because it is Rocky. I mean, when you really look at it, Daniel's Rocky, Mr. Miyagi is Mickey.
Right.
The Johnny is Creed, and the only difference is that Daniel wins at the end. And I don't know if they wanted to stick to the Rocky formula and not have him win. I don't think we'd have Cobra Kai. I don't think that we would have had all of those.
I don't think we would have had a Karate Kid too, unless you want to be
Yeah.
in of Karate Kid 2. Like, I
No,
think,
they would just have to repeat Rocky 2, and then we wouldn't have had that ending. The ending to the original Karate Kid that they snipped. Because even Rocky, even Karate Kid has the still frame like they do in the Rocky movies. You won Rocky, and then the credits go up. In this, it's on Pat Morita. Is
right.
is when the still frame happens, and that was then supposed to like dissolve to Crease, like beating the crap out of Johnny in the parking lot, like he
Hmm.
breaks the second place trophy.
Yep.
So that was supposed to be at the end of part one. They cut it, luckily, and then put it at the beginning of part two, which was perfect.
Hmm.
Like that was such a good way because then you could still have really that connection to the first film by doing
Right.
that.
So you have that connection to the first film, and on top of that, it segues into like what happens after the aftermath of the thing, because they made, I believe they made Karate Kid 2 like a couple years later. I think it was 86, you know. And even though Daniel was it a Ralph Macchio looks absolutely the same as he does
He's
now.
barely aged.
Like, yeah, I swear to God, him and Tom Cruise have the same vampire or something. I don't know. But Tom Cruise, I hate to say, is looking old now, finally. I'm like, oh,
A
but
lot of people asked, I'll make this fast. They asked why does he look so different? Like when they were doing the interviews and stuff for Mission Impossible 7, that they're like, why does he look totally different? Well, because that was made 2 years ago.
right,
And now he's doing the interviews. So yeah, he's
right.
2 years older, so he's gonna look
He's
different.
gonna look older.
Yeah.
So he isn't a vampire. He can grow old.
He's just aging slowly, like Ralph
Mm.
Macchio. He just for every 10 years for us, it's 1 year for them.
When he's 80, 80 or 90, he'll still
He'll
look
look
young.
60.
He'll look
Yeah.
60. I saw an actress, I will not say who, but I saw an actress and I was like, oh man, she's like couple years older than me, and I'm like, oh, poor girl. You know,
Sometimes it's
yeah, time is what it is. But that like my my big thing with the that ending, like I'm glad they didn't have that ending, because it just would have just like where would have they would have gone to the credits, or would that have been like a
I
post-credit
guess,
thing
and
or
it's
something?
depressing. It's not a
Yeah.
happy ending that he did because now we're focused on Johnny being beaten.
Yeah, sure, Pat Morita kicks, his butt, but it doesn't matter, you know? Like it's got to win, or it's got to end on the people who it's the focus on in the movie, Like it should be on Pat Morita, or uh and I remember hearing that originally they were going to want it ending with him with what's his name? Ralph Macchio getting carried out like with the crown. That's just how it would end, is him getting, because he was already hoisted up, just like in fucking Rocky. So remember at the end of Rocky, he's pretty much just like, Adrian,
Well, yeah,
like,
in part two, yeah, they bring him up. Yeah, he's starting, especially definitely in like part four. When he's always brought up, and the poster even tells you the ending of the movie. He's got the American flag wrapped around him, and it's all beaten. But I'm surprised with this that they did do the still frame on Pat Morita instead of Daniel.
I think it worked because, like, I hate to say it, but Pat Morita is basically the star of the movie, in a way. Like, even though it was, Ralph Macchio and everything, he stole the show. Like, Pat Morita stole the show. He became the bigger, even though he's been a name with being in
Like
Happy
Happy Days.
Days,
Yeah.
and everything. He was still like he hadn't really, and that was the big thing is like they auditioned Toshiro Mifune, who was in all those, Akira Kurosawa films and the samurai stuff, but his version of Mr. Miyagi wasn't as fun, wasn't,
Yeah, it was like dead serious. It was more like
yeah.
Reese.
And yeah, it was more like he could have played Kreese, that would have been interesting. But I'm glad that he didn't, just because I love Martin Cove,
Yeah.
and everything. But it would have been an interesting thing of like, especially if they had connected those two people, right? So they knew each other from something. And they do that in part
Oh,
two,
that would have been
like,
yeah.
yeah, but if they knew each other and then all of a sudden there was more there, and that would have been really good. But they didn't go that route. Maybe they'll go that route with the new Karate Kid movie. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I think we're just gonna get what we get. I mean, it's all in how an actor does it because it's like Ed O'Neill, Bundy, from
Yeah,
Married with
Bundy. Yeah, Al
Children,
Bundy.
Al Bundy. So they said with like when they were doing the auditions for Al Bundy, they had a door that was set up, and
Right.
the Al would have to come through the door, and every actor played it angry because it's just I hate my life, I hate my family, and they all played it angry as they came through, except for Ed O'Neill, who opened the door, stopped, and then went, "Ugh, like this is my life.
Right.
It sucks." And that's how he got it, is that he did it totally different from all the other guys. And they said, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the dad. And Pat Morita basically did the same thing. You have all these people, honor must play it seriously. And if you don't kick properly, commit suicide. And then he comes in and he has fun with it. And they're like, that's him. That's Mr. Miyagi. That's the guy.
Mm. Yeah, Pat Morita. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing that role but Pat Morita. But that's the way he played it, because of the
Which
way he
is
played it.
Yeah, when I saw the remake, which is I'm just like, oh God, please don't make Jackie Chan the same guy. And they didn't, which was smart. He
Which
was a
was smart. I
totally
mean, if
different
you're gonna
guy.
do a remake and have it, I mean, they didn't even call him Mr. Miyagi. They didn't call because he was Chinese, not Okinawan, So there was a little bit of a, you know, I I loved all that. I loved how he taught him karate without teaching him karate. You know, show me paint the fence, show me wax on, wax off, right? Show me all
So
these
some of those
things.
didn't stick. Wax on, wax off stuck, but the paint the fence did not stick. I think if I went up to somebody and went paint the fence, they would have no idea what I'm
They'll
talking
look
about.
at you and be like, you want me to go paint a fence? What?
Yeah.
But if you go wax
Sand the
on, wax
deck.
off, which is like even got parodied by the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and their I forgot if it's the first one or I think it's the second one. He goes wax on, wax off, right? Mikey and Raphael, I think, goes mouth off, right? And I
And
just
we know exactly what they're doing.
right.
In the remake, it's jacket on, jacket off. So he puts it up on like a kind of like a stud that's sticking out of the wall. It's supposed to be like a coat rack thing, but it's on like a
Oh
pillar.
God, so I haven't.
And he goes, jacket on, and then Jaden puts the jacket off. And he takes the jacket off and puts it on the hook. Jacket on, and he takes it off and puts it on. Jacket
Yep.
off, then he takes the
All
jacket
right,
off.
all right, all right. I get it. I
And
get it.
then immediately, of course, he does the same type of thing. What does me having to take a jacket off have anything to do with it? And then that's when Jackie Chan starts doing his thing, and Jaden's blocking it, and he's like, oh. But that never, jacket on, jacket off, never stuck.
Yeah.
because it was
Wax on,
stupid.
wax off. Everybody to this day, mostly, unless you're literally have never seen this movie before in your life, which could be any Gen Z person. I guarantee you, they might somebody would find something to cancel this movie over, which is ridiculous, you know. Um, which I hope not, you know. But we're at that stage in life where, you know, and the Cobra Kai. So, you know, the beautiful thing about the first Karate Kid, as opposed to like Cobra Kai or some of the other stuff that movies or television shows that have the stuff is like the ending to the first Karate Kid had just Ralph Macchio. He's the only one in his school, his dojo, right? There's no other Miyagi-Do karate school, you know, right? Uh, so Miyagi, and by the way, you can't call him Miyagi. It's Miyagi. You know,
They
he
they
he
they do
corrects
point that
everybody.
out. That yeah,
And it's not bonsai. It's bonsai tree. Though later, doesn't he yell bonsai, not bonsai
he might because isn't like bonsai. Isn't that like an attack thing?
or something? Maybe because he goes bonsai,
He
and
might have said it wrong once or twice. Who knows? Because
I don't know.
that's a fake accent. You know, because he just
Well, no, but he
talks.
says that, and then what's it? Ralph Macchio in the car when they're leaving. Um, when he got his car, his present, his birthday present, he yells, "Bonsai! Bonsai! Bonsai!" So I think it was bonsai was what he says. He corrects Ralph Macchio when they're
He's probably
cutting the
like,
tree.
whatever,
Yeah, it
dude.
doesn't really
I've
matter, but
already
it's just an
corrected you,
interesting
your
thing of like you
mother.
were just correcting him earlier and now you're saying it wrong yourself.
And Ralph
But
Macchio still owns, at least as of the the documentary, and I think at least the first Cobra Kai, he still owns that car. The producers gave it to him. So he says that he's still so that car that's in Cobra Kai is the same car.
yeah, I heard
That's
about
in
that.
Karate Kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there's I did message you about his clothes,
Yeah,
about
you didn't
Daniel's
like his
clothes.
clothes. You thought it was
My
bad.
he gets better. So maybe he learns like by the time that he goes to that function that Allie's at with all the rich people,
Well,
he's
he was trying to
actually
probably blend in a little bit too with
well,
them,
yeah,
but
he's got like the white pants on. I think it's a red shirt and then the white jacket. But before it's one, why this guy doesn't wear a belt. I don't get it. His shirts are all tucked in, but he doesn't wear a belt, which is just like,
he should have
dude,
a rope to hold up his
that
pants.
would be funny. He had to show how poor he is. The other ones, it's like some stupid shirt with like an iron on something. And then he has like some weird checkered button shirt over it, and then sweatpants. And
Mm.
it's like, are you that poor that your freaking mother has to shop at Goodwill?
Well, then,
Like,
then it kind of makes sense later. It's like your mother has to dress you. Apparently
I
so.
guess. And then his very first date, you would think as his mom knows he's going on this date, she drives him, that he wears with the chance of meeting her parents. It's the same thing. He has on like the shitty pants, the button shirt with like another shirt under it, and then he has a sweat jacket. This is your first date with this girl. There's the possibility of meeting her parents. Why didn't your mother take you to the Goodwill and buy you just like a nice jacket?
Was there
It'd
a
be like
Goodwill
five
back in
dollars.
1984?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh god,
Huh.
that's been at the yeah. If it's not, then go to Salvation Army or something. But he does learn better later on. His clothes do get better, and but I'm just looking at this thing going, was this intentional? Did wardrobe purposely dress him like crap?
No
And
idea.
it's and I have to bring up the mom's job. This confused the crap out of me, and I actually rewound it and looked at it a second time. So they moved from New Jersey to California. So they basically drove all the way cross country
Right.
to
I
get
don't know
a.
how many days it took, but it said September in the beginning,
I think it's
and
like
they were still when they got there, the next day after they had just gotten there was that big party on the beach. And they said it was like the end of the year, end of the year blast or whatever.
I think it takes like 4 days to drive cross country, 4 or 5 days, depending on how much you stop. But so the so he tells the guy that he hits the door into because he does that really bad karate kick. He goes, "Yeah, my mom got a job for like a computer company called something like robot computers or spaceship computers, something
Way
like
of the
that."
future. It's the way of the
Yeah,
future or some
it
shit.
it's so it sounds like it's a job that would probably pay pretty well. And then we see her in a diner
Mm-hmm.
across the street from the dojo from Cobra Kai. She doesn't look like a waitress. She might be like a hostess because she's dressed up a little bit. And she's like, Daniel, they have a training program here. Okay, where do you work? Denny's?
Yeah,
That
it looked like a
if
yeah.
I'm here long enough and I take this management program, the next time there's an opening, I can become a manager and I'll make more money here than I would have doing the computer stuff. Bullshit. There is no possible way you being a manager of a place like that is going to get you more money, especially back in those days when like computers were like all in the rage, that whole startup thing.
1980, yeah, like
Yeah,
1980s. That was the big
she's
thing,
going to make a ton of money, especially if she's working for some sort of like rocket company.
right?
It's like, so really you drove out to California, took Daniel away from all of his friends to work as a waitress?
I thought she was,
That
I mean, I thought she had the other job. Didn't she have the other job in the
No, she
bank?
goes, this job, because remember, the woman comes up to her when Daniel and them are sitting together. He's
Huh?
the only one eating food. And the
Right.
woman comes up and says, "Hey, it's time to get back."
So
And
she's working as a waitress instead of, wow.
yeah, maybe like a hostess because she was nice. She had little kind of like frills,
Yeah,
so it
right.
didn't look like a regular waitress. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no way.
Like, yeah,
Uh-uh.
and it looked like a Denny's. Yeah, it didn't look like,
Yeah,
um,
and I don't even know. I mean, I've never worked for a company that has like a manager program. It's you do a good job working the register, you move up to assistant. They like you as an assistant. You then move up to blah blah. I mean, I know that there are management programs, but I think those are mostly in like offices,
by the way,
bigger companies.
so that place, that restaurant that they were at or whatever, was right across the street from the karate studio, right? 'Cause there's that little big karate sign and everything. And he runs, he taps on the window and says he's going to check out the karate place, right?
Right.
So he goes and checks it out. Those apparently I found out last night for the first time that those are two separate locations for the actual karate place. So you see the karate place in that specific thing, that's actually a wig store. So if you go to it now, it's a wig store. I don't know what it was back then. I don't think it was, maybe it was nothing back then, and they were just able to put up the karate stuff and everything. But then when you see Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio walking out of Cobra Kai, you see that big sign that says Cobra Kai, and it says like strike hard, strike like a Cobra Kai, which I thought was a fucking great, like that sign. I would have loved to like be around a place that had that because that was freaking awesome, right? I would definitely take a picture of that if that actually existed, right? Which I don't know, did they do that again in Karate Kid? I don't think they did. I don't think they had the same. It's not the same place. Not Karate Kid. I mean, Cobra Kai. I think in Cobra Kai they ended up doing it in a mall or something, or whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of like a rundown strip mall because he
Yeah,
got it for
strip mall.
cheap.
Yeah. So it would be cool if in the next season, which I doubt this is going to happen, but in the next season, the last season, because I guess Silver is take. Oh, spoiler alert! If you haven't seen the last season of Cobra Kai, just fast
Well,
forward
t- well,
this.
too bad. It's been out long
Yeah, it's
enough.
been
It's
out
out on
long enough. If
DVD.
you haven't seen it,
It's on
and whatever,
Netflix.
that's on you. Um, but at the end of it, Silver is the main guy. He's taken over for Cobra Kai, and Kreese is in jail and escapes and blah blah blah. So who knows what the next season is gonna have? But it would be cool if they're back in that same place and have that big sign up again and everything as like this is the last season. We're here, we're at this place, and doing that. So I thought that would have been a little neat. But that's actually a different place. So there's two different You can look it up online and find the actual locations and everything and the addresses to them, which is pretty neat. I have been to the apartment complex because I was living in Van Nuys when I first moved to LA, and COVID hit bad in March, and I had nothing to do. I was bored. So I was like, well, I'm gonna see what's around here. And I found out Reseda was actually right up the street, like 30 minutes away. So I was like, I wonder if the place, the any of the Karate Kid stuff is like in Reseda, actually. Because I know they mentioned Reseda, but I know if they actually shot in Reseda. Sometimes you just say this is a
Yeah,
city and
Ali's
then
parents are like horrified that he's from Reseda.
yeah, she's there, but they're from the hills or whatever, which I guess is Beverly Hills.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah. So, why are they in the same? Why do they go to the same school? It's like far away from each other. They shouldn't even be going to the same school. Wouldn't she be going to like a fancy schmancy, like rich
Like in
school?
90210 type of thing, like one of those
Yeah,
schools,
like
like a rich kid school.
yeah, what private school or something. Why would she be going? Why were any of those kids who were from the hills, which I guess I don't know where that is. That could be another Encino Hill. No, Encino is where they said, right? So they mentioned Encino, and I think that's where they're from. So Encino is by Reseda, um, I believe. So anyway, whatever. Point is, I went to the place because I was bored, and I went to the 7-Eleven right next to it. There's a 7-Eleven right. By the way, if you ever go there, there's a 7-Eleven right next to the apartment complex, and so that gate that he kicks open and everything, that's still there, but it's locked. You can't just walk in like that, and everything. So, I did not go inside this stuff. I also went into 7-Eleven and bought something so they wouldn't tow my car while I was just getting a quick picture of me by the sign that said like it was like South Seas or something apartments or whatever.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so I went there and took the picture above the sign, which was pretty cool, and then went home.
Nice.
And that sounds like a really boring thing, but like to me, it was like one of the most exciting moments of my
I
life
would be
is
up for
to,
doing that. Yeah, I would
yeah,
do that.
I love that kind of stuff. Like that's why I loved living in LA is like there was so much history and so many movies that I love that were shot here. When people ask me, why don't you move to Atlanta? I'm like, there's not enough, you know, like of that. I want to, if I'm going to move someplace and live someplace, I want to be a place where I'm driving down the road and I could be like, oh shit, that's from that movie, you know? and and I've done that, So
Oh yeah, sometimes when you're in those areas, you don't even really realize it. I mean, it's just if you're leaving Pasadena and kind of going towards like Eagle Rock and stuff, right up there is the hotel from Puppet Master, is right there. And sadly, across from there was Wayne Manor from the original Batman series, but it caught fire and burned down. And then if you go to Malibu, up on the hill was the house on Haunted Hill from the Vincent Price movie, but that burnt down during the fires.
my
So there,
former
a
my
lot of
former
places.
roommate Jackie and I did go to Malibu, and I think we were at the beach that was it they had the beach scene, the stuff at the beach and everything. So we may do that again when I go visit. I may go check that out again if but it's really funny because like there if you really look at where everything is, there it's not right next to each other. Reseda is in the valley, which is like 30 to 50 to maybe even an hour away, depending on traffic too, away from Malibu. So they're not like right next to each other and everything. Like it kind of makes movie magic makes it look like, they're right next to each other, but
Sure.
it just depends on where they can get the location. And I'm always interested in that kind of stuff because I'm always I'm always wondering like, some as a filmmaker, I will have to sometimes fly people out to, they've never been to like Virginia or something, right? So I'll fly them out and everything. But like if you're if you're there you might have to travel like 20 to 30 minutes to get to that location, then you know what I mean? To get set up and whatnot. And it's just interesting to see how far things are from each other. And it's probably not shot on the same day or nothing, but maybe
No, a
some things
lot
like
of
that.
stuff is separate. I mean, everybody thinks The Shining is one hotel. The original, it's not. It's two.
Yeah.
The inside is one place and the outside is another place.
Well, they have the same thing with most places that are inside because they don't actually look like the outside doesn't look like the inside, like they have to make it look like that, and everything.
Yeah, and
Because,
then there's facades that they put up, and you think you know where it is, and it's just a facade that they built. They
right.
just took it
I get
down.
mad at that. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait. And they're like, oh, that's fake. That wasn't,
Yeah,
that
they just built
wasn't.
the front and the side, and
And
that's and
the
everything else was done in the
inside is usually
studio.
a set or something.
Yeah, yeah. But it was
But
nice with Karate Kid and Cobra Kai that they rebuilt everything. If it wasn't still standing,
so it'll be
yeah.
fun when we talk about Ghostbusters because that's in New York, said New York, most of it is said New York, and this is California. So completely sort of a different aspect, west versus east kind of stuff. But yeah,
That's mentioned by them actually. The differences that the mom says, well, we don't have snow, and he's like, I like snow, and she's, well, we're not gonna have a cold, and he's like, I like having a cold, and at the very
I
beginning
don't
is
like frozen
Daniel.
toast. I don't like what's the frozen toast? He's like, "Oh, so you like frozen toast. You like something or other." And he goes, "I don't like smog, Ma." And
Yeah.
I laughed because the first time I ever actually saw smog, yeah, I'm sure like it was around me a lot, but like the first time was when I was visiting G. Larry Butler and we looked outside his house and there was like smog, like it looked like fog, but
Oh yeah,
darker and
there's smog
nasty.
alerts. Yeah,
Yeah.
to where you shouldn't be outside, and they'll even send kids home from school at times. Because
Yeah.
if you're in an airplane and you're going to LA, I mean, you may not see it. Well, you kind of do because I see it when I drive from Las Vegas to LA, is that there's almost like a barrier of smog. And okay, I'm now in LA. And especially if you fly, it really is like this kind of bubble.
I'm kind of sad because when I'm flying back out. This will be out after I've been already out in California, but I'm going back out to California. Obviously, I said that earlier to Bakersfield to visit my former roommate, and then we're going down to LA. But when I'm coming from, like, I'll be going to New Jersey first. So there you go. There's a little crowded kid stuff. I don't think it might be Newark. It might be the Newark airport. I think it is. So Newark airport, and then I'm flying to San Francisco,
Oh,
and
my
then
city.
what?
My city.
Your city? Did you
I
used to
love
live
San
there?
Francisco. Well, I lived in Marin County.
And San Francisco, I'll be there for like 12 hours, dude. So that's gonna be like a fucking, and I think that's coming back home. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to go out and visit and look around, and stuff. Might just rather just stay in the airport for 12 hours,
Why not? Well, I mean,
Uh,
you'll have to fend yourself against homeless people and drug addicts, but
Well,
otherwise
it's
than
that
that,
or
like
it's
go to restaurants, go to Fisherman's Wharf.
I'm just afraid like I'm gonna miss something up and not be able to get back to the airport or something or get lost.
Well,
Like
then
I
eat
would
inside the
rather it's
airport.
safer to just stay there and relax, I guess, for a couple of, for a bunch of hours. I don't know. But it's like from early morning to fucking like 11 o'clock at night. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's gonna be a long ass day
Well, and to
coming back
circle
home.
back, at least you're not driving out from New Jersey like Daniel and his mother
Well, I
did.
did that already from Virginia for Virginia to California.
But
So
did you
that
have stunt people in the car driving and then they just ADR'd the actors' voices over them? Because that's
no.
obviously what they did with this.
Or yeah, because they obviously didn't make them drive, except for the parts where they had a push. Like push, Daniel,
That might have not
push.
even been them. That could have been. I mean, it was far enough away. That could have been stunt people. So who
Maybe.
knows? That might have even
I
been
think
shot
that was them. No,
in
I think I saw their
California.
picture, but they were in Arizona then, so they would have to fly because they actually shot that in Arizona at that specific And that motel I looked up is still there, so you can actually go to that motel that they had, that they shot it at if you go to Arizona. Um, if you ever just want to drive down to Arizona and go see that motel, I would stay there just because I'd be like, hey, this is I wanted to stay at the place in that took place in True Romance. It's like this motel in True Romance, and I found it. It's in Burbank, the Safari Inn, and I wanted to stay there, but I was like, it cost me a little extra, and just for that, kind of thing, like, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So, well, so I'm going to ask you the question that everybody talks about: is Daniel the bad guy?
I don't think so. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a good guy, you know? I think what I like about Cobra Kai is they show off both sides to their personalities and stuff. You kind of feel sorry for Johnny at times, but you also feel like he's a dick at times. You feel sorry for Ralph Macchio at times. You still notice he's a dick at times. So I think what I like about the movies and the television show and everything is that, like, no, everybody is sort of there's gray in everybody, except for Allie. Allie's just a sweetheart the whole time. Yeah.
Do you think the kick at the end, the crane kick, was legal or illegal? Because that's another thing people talk about.
Um, I, well, the thing is, I saw them do points when people were actually hitting people in the head before, so I thought it was legal because it was weird. Sometimes they wouldn't give a point to like a headshot, and then sometimes they would.
Yeah, the
So,
point system was a little weird. It's like, wait a minute, wouldn't that be a point? But then
but
it
then
would
they said
be
no point, you
no
know.
point. Or when Johnny hits him hard, like with or something, it'd be like point, and he'd be like, wait, that looked illegal.
Or that looked not fair, but like
Yeah,
that shouldn't have been
like he should have been
counted
disqualified, I think, immediately from doing the leg.
from sweeping the leg.
Yeah,
Not
because
really,
he
because
doesn't do it with his, he does. It's not like he does like some karate thing and kicks him over. He purposely grabs his leg and tries to break it.
right.
That should have been disqualifying right there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that's yeah. And what was the other thing that I wanted to ask you? So the villain was the crane kick. Um, do you think was Johnny just trying to protect Allie, or do you think
What
maybe Daniel should have stayed out of the
Okay,
fight on
so
the beach?
I was gonna make a post about this last night because I did notice that as he was kind of not minding his own business and he was kind of trying to protect her when he barely knew the chick,
Yeah, try to be like a white knight or something.
Yeah, and everything, and that really wasn't his place. In today's culture, that would not be cool. You know, um, Girls especially, as we've learned, they don't want the prince to save them. This is the thing. They want,
As weird as that
has
might
pointed
be,
out. Yeah.
Daniel did kind of stalk her too, Allie. I mean, he
Well,
was
not really. He looked at her, and then she looked at him. They
well,
had a little
he kind of
moment.
stalked her a little bit on the beach. He was waiting for her outside the place where the parents are at that like
No,
banquet
but he
thing,
was told to
and then he
wait there.
goes right, but then he goes inside
Well, he
and
wanted to
is
check and see what's taking her so long.
it's a banquet.
I
It's
don't think any of that was like stalking. I think that was him
well,
just
it
like
she does kind of
because
stalk him a little
she
bit
did
too.
ask her father how much, like what time it was, and he said it was 9:40. She said meet me outside at 9:30.
Nine
So she was
thirty,
already
yeah,
10 minutes late. So
typical.
and then she was late, and then he was, and then she was talking to the mother, and then the ex-boyfriend is dancing with her, right? All the while, like Daniel's outside waiting for her, which is fine. He can wait, but he just wanted to check on and see how she's doing. I found
But
nothing
it's
wrong with
weird
that.
kind of going through the back way, and I don't know, maybe he had to be a member or something,
Yeah,
and so
no,
he
he was
went
not
through
a
the
member of it.
kitchen.
Like you can,
But
he was trying to
and
sneak in so he could just see what was going on.
Johnny
Um,
obviously has some anger issues, but Daniel is a child. He like, pardon me, every time he gets mad at her, he doesn't let her talk, and he's wrong about everything. all of this could have been resolved if he just would have let her talk. And so her friends telling him to drop dead and all that, I don't blame him because
Yeah, no,
he's
I thought it was yeah, because at one point he said, oh, something about leaving him dead or whatever, and they're like, I wish you would, die or whatever. It was kind of mean. It was mean-spirited, but I get it. Like they were protective of her, and then when he didn't know that she had punched, Johnny in the face for kissing her, which if he had stayed
that's assault. Johnny would be
around.
canceled today. That's assault. He didn't get permission.
Well, he did not. He did not.
No,
But
no. But she did slap him. So
she did
that's
slap him. She took care of
and sprained
herself.
her wrist, according to her friend.
Right. Which did she have a thing on her wrist? I never noticed that.
No, no. I don't know if that was just meant to be, yeah, she sprained her wrist, idiot, and like she didn't, but she just the friend
Well,
said
yeah, but
that.
she said it like as if he would have known that she had her wrist sprained. And I did not see any kind of like she should have had her hand, they should have put her hand in a cast or something. But yeah, so she whatever.
I'm almost thinking it just hurt. Maybe she hit him so hard it hurt, and the friend's just being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
But of course, if I was Daniel and I did that and spaghetti got tossed all over me, and finally wearing some nice clothes, I got spaghetti all over me,
You're
I would probably be
really on
embarrassed.
him
And
about his clothes right now.
I
That's so
I
funny.
I mean I judge a lot and I really shouldn't. But it's I can't I look at these things that behind the scenes of movies and sometimes it just bothers me. Like when we did our least anticipated films and I brought up Smile 2 and Kevin Bacon's daughter and say, girl, eat a sandwich.
I mean,
You're so bony. It's like I can't help it. It's like these are decisions that they made before they started shooting.
right.
And so did the costume designer say, okay, we're gonna go to Goodwill or Salvation Army and just buy you crap clothes. But later on, you'll start kind of converting to that rich side. So you'll start looking nicer. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's
Well, I mean,
intentional
in the
or
beginning, he was from Reseda. He didn't probably have great clothes. I mean,
I've shopped
um,
at Goodwill many times and I still buy stuff that matches.
right.
Just wear all black. Why would you wear a like sweater or coat or whatever it is when you're going on your first date with a rich girl? That makes this. I'm looking at this thing like that's first he had sweatpants. Now he has a sweat jacket.
I don't know.
It's
I
like,
don't
dude,
know.
come
Don't ask me.
on.
Don't ask me. I have no idea. I didn't make the
Bring
wardrobe
her a
decision.
flower or something.
I didn't make the wardrobe decision, so I don't know.
These are things that I question. These are things that I question. I
I
mean,
get it. I
it's
never
almost
cared.
like with Kevin Bacon's daughter. They said you need to lose 10 pounds because the camera puts on 10 pounds, and she lost 10 pounds. And they're like, okay, now lose 10 pounds more. And then so she lost 20 pounds, and now she looks like a skeleton.
You're kind of like Paul. Paul brings up stuff in the background a lot. He's like, "Oh, look at that wallpaper that these people, why didn't they have better wallpaper and shit like that?" And I'm like,
I question that stuff, and I now question Daniel's age. That was another thing I was going to bring up. So it's the under 18 karate tournament, under 18. But Daniel has his birthday party, and he shows Mr. Miyagi his license, and he goes, "Now I'm legal."
to drive.
Is it to drive
I
or
think
that
it was
he's
to drive.
18?
I think it was to drive
Because
because
he's a senior, he's in the same
bec-
class as
it
Ali and
was
Johnny,
it
so
was
he's
sort
a
of a
senior.
joke between them, I think, because earlier in the movie, if you remember, he said, do you know how to drive? And he goes, yes, but I'm not very good. He was like, neither am I. It's like, yeah, but I don't have a
Yeah,
license. Neither do I. And I was like,
so
okay,
that
I
makes it
guess it's fine
okay.
then. And then he starts
Yeah, so
driving.
maybe okay, so maybe
So
it's
it's legal
legal
now. He's
to
legal to
drive.
drive. That's how I took it, because he's always been 16 or something like that in that age range. He's been 16 or 17 in that age range. So I think he's 17. He had just turned 17, so he's under
I
18.
know I was held back one year, so I was 18 as a senior because I actually did get into a fight with a guy and break his arm.
I was
Um,
17 as a senior, turning 18, and June.
so yeah, so I would have been 7. It should have been 17. So he needs to at least be 17.
Does he? Because they never mention he's a senior or not.
No,
Does
but he's
he?
in the same. He has the for like PE when they're doing soccer and all that, and she's a cheerleader. They're on and Johnny's out there. They're all there at the same time.
Right, so they're all the same age, but what age is that?
Yeah, it should be probably 17.
Right, would be my guess. You saw Johnny driving earlier than Johnny drives at one point. He's in the
Because yeah,
car.
plus he has the motorcycle. Yeah, he's got the car and the motorcycle.
Yeah.
So he
Um,
has his license. So he's got to be at least 17.
I think he might be, no, he can't be 17 because if it's under 18, so all of them are under 18. Um,
Yeah, so none of
anyway,
them could be 18. They could be 17 or below to enter the tournament. But
yeah,
I think in Cobra Kai, I think they do bring up his age. Like, should he have even been in that tournament because he was 18?
I don't
Which has
think,
got me. I think it is brought up because when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's not 18. I mean, he's like 18.
I don't know. I don't
But
know. I think it was,
he never gets asked his age when they register. He just walks
no,
in and the guy is like, okay, well, what color are you?
what
And they're
belt
like,
color
oh,
are you?
does that
Yeah, what
matter?
color are you? I'm
Well,
white.
I'm a little more Caucasian brown than,
Hmm.
I think he says like, what belt are you or something, and that's
Yeah,
what Mr. Miyagi says. Doesn't matter,
yeah,
but they never bring up his age. They never say, let me see an ID. They never do anything. So I think maybe it's that driver's license scene because I do remember something on one of the episodes. Somebody does mention the tournament and he should have never been in it.
yeah. So whatever. Maybe Johnny did, I think. Whatever. I don't remember. I have not seen that'll be the fun thing of rewatching Cobra Kai. I gotta start watching it now if I wanna I'll get ready for a few months, so I can make sure I've watched it. It's easy to watch, man. If you guys haven't seen Cobra Kai, it is so easy to freaking watch. It's like literally, it takes a day to watch one whole season, you know. So you could watch probably all
Yeah, because they're
five
only like
seasons in like five,
30 minutes. If
yeah, or
maybe
20 minutes or something like that. Like they're just that quick and they go like that. So you're just like, oh shit, this is over now. Moving on to the next episode. And then, and Netflix is so great because they do that. By the way, Karate Kid is leaving Netflix December 31st. So when you're listening to this, it'll be away from Netflix. I do not know if it's already got a new home that it's going to, like Stars or something, or whatever. But I hope it goes back to Netflix at some point because
probably
I
when season 6 comes out, they might get them.
yeah, so maybe a year. Maybe that's why they're planning it, that maybe that's why they plan to get rid of it now, let somebody else have it for a little bit and then bring it back, you know. That's the way I would do it because Karate Kid Cobra Kai is on Netflix, so it might as well keep all the Karate Kid stuff there, you know.
That would make sense. But it matters the deals because like Roku I did for Thanksgiving the Hunger Games marathon, and Roku has all of them.
All the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, who owns Roku then? Or how did they get? Because that had to cost a pretty penny then to get
Mm.
all the Hunger Games movies. And
Roku makes some serious bank though. They sell their Roku and stuff. They have
they got
um
now like a TV and
yeah, they have their own
remotes
streaming
and
channel, yeah.
yeah. So it's I don't know. I heard for a while that the way like Disney, for example, you saw other Disney stuff on other streaming channels, but that's because
Mm.
there was a contract, and then when the contract ended, it went to Disney Plus.
Ah,
So you might be able to find something like I think it was the Star Wars films, the original ones were on something else like HBO or one of those.
Harry Potter
And
was too, and then it went somewhere else for a little bit.
yeah, and then once the contracts ran out because they now own Star Wars, it then went to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And I
I'm
think
not
Harry
entirely sure how
Potter
that
was
works
at
out.
Max and then it left and went to like Stars or something for a little bit, then went back to Max. And now I think Max, because Warner Brothers owns Max, they're keeping it, or whatever, which is smart because Harry Potter stuff, regardless of whatever you feel about the creator, they're really big, big get hits. People love them, people still to this day. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's well, the one scene that makes me smile in this, and it still does every time, is at the end with Pat Morita or Mr.
yeah,
Miyagi doing the clap,
doing
and
the
then
doing the clap again.
then the Bill Conti music kind of just comes up. Makes me smile every time I see it, because you just, and as they say in the documentary, they're like, "Oh, that's crap. That doesn't exist.
Right.
We needed something to get the audience hyped."
Right, and we
So
needed something to fix, or that it was a fix. It was a way to, and they had to introduce it beforehand so that later we could see it happen. So, like, you know how they say if a gun, if you introduce a gun in Act One, it better go off in Act Three. It's kind of like that. Like you see him do this, it better do it. But they also do the crane kick. They introduce the crane kick at some point, and then he does the crane kick, and that's how he wins. They
yeah,
introduced a
that's
couple
just called good
things.
writing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you don't want stuff to just come out of nowhere.
Robert
You
Mark
know,
Kamen did a great job. He also did like the Fifth Element movie, and I mean,
oh yeah,
wonderful
he's worked a
actor.
lot with Lucas on. So
Yeah.
yeah, Colombiana, I think is the name of it, and some other stuff too. So yeah,
I would
he's written a lot of stuff.
I wish he would do more. Like, I wish he had more say in the Cobra Kai stuff and everything. I don't think he'd had any say. I think the guys who created Cobra Kai took completely over, and unless they asked Robert Mark Kamen for, like what would he do, in this situation.
Well, he gets a
Um,
paycheck
I know he gets
each
a paycheck for
episode,
the
you know.
creator. He's the creator of the characters, so he should get a paycheck.
But I mean, who totally knows, because he hates Karate Kid 3. Hates it.
Didn't he write it though?
Yeah. And they totally screwed. So if you look at, because we went back to Rocky, it is Rock in the first Rocky, Rocky is more street smart. He's not dumb. He's street smart. He's a little punchy. In Rocky 2, he's a flat out moron.
Yeah.
I mean,
I actually tried
he's
watching part two. I couldn't finish it. I need
he
to
is
rewatch it.
so dumb. And then in part 3, he's back now, he's like smart businessman. So he's smarter than part 1, and he's not as, he's not dumb in part 2. In part 4, once again, he's smart. And then, and then in part 5, he's a raging moron,
A lot of
just like
people
he was
hate
in
part
part
five.
2.
I was not a
From the
uh
director of The Karate Kid, who also
yeah.
did the first Rocky. Now, if you look at The Karate Kid, um, Daniel is more street smart
Hmm.
in the first movie. In the second film, he's a little smarter because he's got some knowledge. In Karate Kid 3, he's Rocky dumb. He is Rocky dumb. For some reason, I think because of Rocky, whatever Rocky came out at that time, they said, and made money. It might have been part 4. Um, they said you need to be more like Rocky. You need to be dumb, and they totally dumb him down.
Right.
So I don't think Ralph Macchio liked it. I know that the director was like contracted. The writer hated it because they changed his screenplay. So I know some of these
I
people may just want to kind of
I liked Robin
steer away from
Lively,
that.
but that was, I liked Robin Lively. I like all the girls that he ever like,
She was
you know.
good, but she wasn't a I don't know if you were the one who told me this, maybe because you like her, that the reason why they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend was because of Ralph Macchio's marriage.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what
Yeah,
I heard.
that he couldn't kiss her, which
That
is
he wasn't allowed to kiss her, wasn't allowed to, there was not allowed to be a relationship.
that
His
is
wife was
so
like really
weird.
jealous, I guess, at the time, the beginning sort of thing, and he wasn't allowed to do anything. If you look at, I think she was there when he was doing like My Cousin Vinny. There was no real romantic relationship and for him in that. He took a lot,
Was he in some
um,
sort of cult?
and
I
then
mean,
no, and then later, I think because in Cobra Kai. he does have a wife, but if you notice, it's not very romantic in Cobra Kai. There's
It's
no,
more like a business marriage, like
yeah,
because they got the car dealership and
yeah. So if you notice,
the
it's not really still
commercials.
sort of like that. So maybe his wife still kind of doesn't like him, like, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of Christian. I don't know if she's Christian or not, probably not. But there's a lot of Christian filmmakers and or actors or whatever who have that thing. Like the guy from I know he had a part in Suits. He was in Arrow. This guy is blonde hair guy. I forgot his name. God, whatever. Anyway, this dude has been in a bunch of movies and TV shows. Like you would know him if you saw him. Neil something McDonough, I think is his name. And he's a Christian. So he says he won't do because he's married, he won't do anything where, he has to have like a romantic relationship with somebody. It's a choice, right? If the wife tells you you can't, you shouldn't do that, or she doesn't want you doing that, I guess he respects his wife's just thing and decide not to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, I know the exact actor you're talking about. He played Lieutenant Hawk in Star Trek First Contact.
yeah.
Yeah, Neil McDonough he's also a really big conservative.
Yeah, he's a
So
Christian,
yeah, so
Yeah.
he's been kind of blacklisted from Hollywood because of his beliefs.
Mm,
And people have wanted him to be in their movies or him in his movies, but he will say no to like nudity, kissing, sex scenes. And they're like, okay, then you're not going to be in the movie.
right.
So he does do religious films now and all of that. And I was a big fan of him from like Star Trek First Contact on until I kind of heard what he was like. And it's like, then don't be an actor, dude. Go
Well,
work at
I
a
mean, you
Christian
can still
shop
act
or
in family-friendly films that don't have
then
that
just
stuff.
yeah, then just do those, but
Yeah,
don't
that seems to be what he's doing, and he seems to be
yeah.
happy with it. So, like, look, he has his, I never once because I am a Christian, but I'm not like a Christian. I don't push my beliefs and people don't know I'm a Christian unless I physically say it like here. I don't talk about it. Like it's not my thing. It's my personal feelings. It's my personal thing. If you're an atheist, you can stay an atheist all you want. I don't give a fuck. It's not my problem. I just know I pray to my God every night. You know what I mean? Like, and that's fine with me. I don't, would I do nudity? I almost did nudity in a James Balsamo movie, but he told me nobody wanted to see that. So,
He might
you
have a
know,
point there,
he
but
is a point. Ooh, no pun intended. Um, but so yeah, no, because I was doing bite school, and he was like, "Do you mind getting in like your, like without a shirt and boxers?" I was like, "I'm not." Yeah, at that time, I was like, "I'm not doing anything more," And he goes, "Nobody wants to see that anyway." And I go, "Okay." Great, thanks. I love James. I love James. He's such a great
Thanks.
guy. But yeah, it's that's so anyway, I just feel like um when it comes down to it, if you're whatever your beliefs are, if his wife says that and that's her ask of him, right? Because I don't know if she demanded it or not, but and she said, "Look, I don't feel comfortable with you kissing somebody else that's not me," you know, and he says, "Okay, I won't," you know, that's his decision, and they
Sure.
had to rewrite it around that, so they, but in the first two movies, he's all making out with chicks, and he has that really great kiss scene with Allie when they and what's her name and I think the girl from Karate Kid 2, I think they had a kiss scene.
Yeah,
So
they
it
do
wasn't
indeed.
until like part three, which is 89, that he got married and just decided not to do that. And so I think he still continues to not do that. And that's his choice. And I respect it. you know. It just
Well,
always was
yeah,
weird to me because I
you're
was
not going to get
like
offered as many parts,
I was like
type of
Robin
thing. So
Lively's hot. How could you not kiss her? You know? Shit, I'm so
because your
glad.
wife is on set doing.
Yeah, I met her brother, Jason Lively, and used to drink with him when we were at conventions. I don't drink anymore. He might still, I don't know. But we were hanging out, and I was like, I just want to let you know, man, I love your sister. And then he was like, oh, yeah, she's doing great, blah, blah, blah. Right? We talked about it. You know, I think he thought I meant Blake. I meant Robin, but I never like fully told him that. So, Jason, if you're listening, don't think you are. But if you are, I met Robin because I had the hugest crush on her. With her, with that, and with Karate Kid 3 and Teen Witch. Just had the hugest crush. Oh, and my one of my favorite movies of all time that nobody ever talks about that is Disney, old Disney, not new Disney, but old Disney is Not Quite Human. So
Don't know
which
that stuff.
you don't know about that? Well, it's okay. It's it's fun. It's fun family shit. That was good when I was a kid. So yeah, and Robin Lively was in it.
Okay,
Oh,
well there
but
you go.
Alan Thicke was her dad. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So anyway, moving
And
on.
then we have his son who likes to steal music from other people, but that's okay. That's okay. You
I
know.
don't know anything about that, but I know who Robin is, but I don't know anything about that show.
One thing I would like to talk about is the soundtrack
Soundtrack is amazing.
because um you're the best around.
Did you
That was
notice that Allie says that first before they do the song? She says, "You're the best, Daniel," and then it goes, "You're the best around," and I was like,
oh, we got
I
that little
never.
segue there. But that song was rejected by Stallone for Rocky 3 because he went with Eye of the Tiger instead.
Well, I have the Tiger's the better song. No offense,
But can
but
you imagine if Rocky, if he's working out, about to fight Mr.
you're the
T,
best
you're the best
around.
around, and instead of Eye of the Tiger, would have been a little
No,
bit different. Or if
he
Daniel's
was right to do that.
practicing on the boat and it's Eye of the Tiger and you're ready to fight.
Like if they switched, yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
a weirder kind of thing. I think the music was meant, like the music that got picked was the perfect music for both movies,
Well, and they used Best Around only once. I'm
Right.
surprised that they didn't put it in the end credits or anything. The listening to the music in this, I'm like, crap, I barely know anybody in this. There's
Bananarama.
but well, Survivor is in here. Oh, Eye of the Tiger is Survivor.
Well, yeah,
The
that's the group that did "You're the
Yeah,
Best."
no, they did the Moment of Truth.
I thought no, that's right. They did the "Moment of Truth,"
You're the Best is
giving
by
it
Joe
all.
Espinito.
That's right. So I always thought, for some reason, I always thought that was
But he also
uh
had a song in Staying Alive, which was directed by Stallone. But there's a gang of four. Okay, I know them. Shandaya, I kind of know. I don't know if that's a band or a person, but I know the name is
okay.
an American singer. Okay, so it's a person. The Flirts, I know, but they sing that song "Bop Bop on the Beach" with
Bop
Jan
bop
and
on the
Dean,
beach.
and then yeah, Survivor. So I maybe know half the people in this. Like Paul
I mean,
Davis,
the
no
music is
idea.
great though. Like whether or not you know who they are, the songs just worked so well. And I noticed I started noticing how much the songs just sort of like they have the bop bop on the beach and all that stuff, and he's like staring at her, and then they kind of fade to the night, and it's another song, and everything, and I'm like, damn, they got a lot. They like packed packed in the music in this one, like if you watch Rocky, it barely has any like. I don't think Rocky 1 has any
It's
maybe has
well, one
any
and two
actual
is
songs.
yeah, Gonna Fly Now.
Gonna fly.
Gonna
That's right. You're
fly
gonna fly now.
now.
So they've got that.
But
But
that's also more just like a theme. It's not like a song. It's more like a
I
theme.
think Bill
And then
Conti
in
did that one
yeah,
too.
that's all Bill Conti. And then in Rocky 3, they had a couple songs in there, but the big one was Eye of the Tiger. Rocky Four was just an MTV soundtrack. I mean,
Right.
it's a great soundtrack. It's one of the best soundtracks out
Well,
there.
see, that
And then
goes to
part
show you
five is all hip hop,
where it was
which
going, because
was
1984 Karate Kid had all those music, had all, it was like it was a lot big huge sounds, right? A lot of sound, big soundtrack. Then Rocky 4 was made came out a year after 1985. And then all of a sudden, they have a lot more songs. So at that time, 84 and 85 was when music was really starting to like, rock songs. Back to the Future, I had that, in it and everything. So
well, and the one thing that Stallone was consistent with, which I found funny when I rewatched all of them, and then Donald and I did our Rocky Creed or Rocky yeah, Creed video, is his Stallone's brother Frank from the
Frank
first
Stallone.
film on, I guess always wanted to be a singer-songwriter. So
Hmm.
the song that he sings in the first Rocky is repeated throughout, so I guess he could get a check throughout all the movies, but it's done differently. So I think like one and two, it's Frank. Three, I think it's somebody else. I think it's like a female that sings it. And then four, I think somebody else sings it. And then five, it's rap. It's like kind of like an R&B rap version. And the soundtrack to part five is just god awful. It's so bad because it's just Stallone was so trying to be hip.
Yeah, so
But
this
I
one, it was
but part
nice.
Yeah, I mean, well, the first Karate Kid has a great soundtrack. Part two, I think, only has the one song
Yeah, the
from
very famous song, but the Glory of Love. Is
yeah,
that
from
this one?
what's his face, Peter
Peter Cetera.
Cetera, yeah,
Cetera.
from Chicago when he
Yeah.
went solo.
Which one of my friends told me that he was gonna, whenever he got married, that was the song he was gonna put in his, on his wedding day, or whatever on for the reception, I guess, I think that's sweet. I like that song. But I heard my favorite version of it other than Peter Cetera's version is from Newfound Glory. They did a great job doing a uh cover of that. They did a whole CD where they did like That Thing You Do, and then what was that big song that Aerosmith did for
Oh,
Armageddon?
probably Armageddon. Yeah,
What was that one for Armageddon? Like,
missing you or something.
yeah,
Oh,
something
I'm
like that. They
gonna be missing. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
So they did those. They did all like the top soundtrack songs or whatever for a whole album, and I was like, because I loved every single one of those songs. So hearing a punk version of it was fun,
That
especially That Thing
sounds
You
good.
Do, because that song is not meant to be punk. And just hearing with That Thing You Do, dropping my heart into a million pieces, like it just does not sound like the original version, so it's more fun, you know. Um, sorry, people got a little bit of my karaoke, which sucks. I am not a singer, by the way, just not.
Apparently,
Yep, I know that. Um,
I want to see Karate Kid 3 soundtrack because
because I think they had a pretty good soundtrack, didn't they? Maybe
um
not.
I had to, so I own a box set of all the soundtracks because some of them are not available by themselves. They were just included. Even Wikipedia doesn't even tell you the soundtrack. Let's see
Hmm.
here. Because I don't think, okay, all music, Karate Kid 3. I think it just has songs from like people you don't even know. Like nothing
Little River
was
Band.
trying to see.
Summer in the City by the Pointer Sisters. I've heard of them.
Okay,
I don't know them.
yeah, Little River
Under
Band. I
Any
think
Moon by
yeah, Little River
Michael.
Band. That's the main song. Um,
Boys Club with Discotheque All Night.
okay,
Money
Winger,
Talks in a Trance.
Pretty Boy Floyd,
Yeah, for 48 hours.
and then yeah, Bill Conti with the
Winger for
theme.
Out of the Count.
This is not a good soundtrack.
Yeah,
I own it, but I because
but you
somebody
don't
had
listen
to
to it much.
No, it's just part of the collection
Yeah,
that I have, and so it's there. But they when they did the box set, it's all the Bill Conti stuff,
right,
which I really like because it's from all four films. But there is no, and there is a like a various artist soundtrack for one and two,
right.
but there is not one for part three. So I found a bootleg that somebody who went through and put all the songs on there and made their own soundtrack.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
downloaded that. So I have them all, but yeah, I guess they just went, yeah, this isn't
Uh,
gonna sell.
I bet if you went to YouTube, you could find the soundtracks like the on YouTube, like
Oh yeah, I think
all of
that's I
them,
think
like
that's
the
where I might have found them is that it's either in one long thing or they're separated,
yeah,
but somebody created
the
the
playlist
soundtrack.
of them,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and stuff, and it's from other people's videos of them or something probably. Like they didn't put them all out. They probably
No, they
found,
just put it all
put
together
them all
and
together, which I
yeah.
like. I like to go to YouTube and find that stuff. And like, especially if I'm like mowing the lawn or something, and I just want like uplifting music or something, if I want, you're the best around, well,
I was thinking that's the song that you listen to while you're mowing a lawn. I'm just not a guy who mows the lawn. I'm the best
I'm the
around.
best mower, like, I mean, it motivates you to start running. It motivates you like it's Survivor and that other band, the guy that sings that,
Joe Espinito.
Espinito, like, yeah, fucking awesome. Like back then, there was a lot of big like bands at that point that did those sort of montage. You gotta have a montage. This movie had a couple montages, I believe, but I know one. My favorite one is the one where he's finally doing it all himself. He doesn't have Miyagi around, so he's doing the practicing and everything, and then he's on the boat himself doing everything. He's
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 grown
doing the
up a little
crane
bit,
kick. Yeah, he's about, they're getting close to the end of the movie, so he's finally, become the Karate Kid,
Well, yeah, because he also kind of he gets really put down when Miyagi's like hit me, and he's got kind of like the umpire stuff on, and then he starts doing like the dance when Daniel's dancing around him. He's like, "How about this? How about this? How about this?" And Miss Miyagi just like tears him down. He's
So
like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" The tournament's in like a couple weeks. It's right around the corner, and then that's when Miyagi has his gets drunk and talks about his wife, and then I think Daniel finally realizes, like, well, shit, yeah, I might be 16, 17, but I gotta grow up at some point. This isn't
so
funny.
in the first, like, after he's fought Johnny and lost the first time to get his butt kicked, and then Elizabeth Shue's trying to comfort him, and he's like, go away, leave me alone.
Like a child, like a
Yeah.
child.
I'm like, dude, the chick's trying to comfort you. Be like, I'm
A
hurt. You should
really
comfort me
hot
some
chick
more.
is trying to hire you,
Yeah,
who's a
come comfort
cheerleader.
me. By the way, I love her brother, Andrew Shue. He's in like the Melrose Place and everything.
Oh
He's
yeah, yeah.
great.
I remember
Yeah.
him on that. Yeah.
So anyway, if you watch it later, they do the soccer game, or whatever, where he gets tackled or whatever, and then he starts beating the guy up. Before then, as he walks out, one of the guys goes, "Hey, look, it's the Karate Kid," And
Yeah,
I'm
he says
guessing that's where the fucking where Robert Mark came up with the title, is he threw that line in there and he was looking for a title for this movie and was like, the Karate Kid. All right, let's keep that, let's put that as the title. Or do you think he already
maybe.
had the title and
I think he already had the title and it's just a
and then
joke.
he
Yeah,
just
it's
threw
just
that
yeah.
line in there just to seal it in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because otherwise nobody else ever calls him the Karate Kid. Never, never in any of the other Karate Kid movies, he's never called the Karate Kid. You know, I don't think in Cobra Kai he's known as the Karate Kid.
So they should in Cobra Kai at one point somebody on the street should go, "Hey, it's Cobra Kai."
Hey, well, no, don't they? They probably do at some point. There's
At
like,
some point somebody probably calls him the
yeah, it's
Cobra
like
Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Like they throw something at him, like in one of the scenes where he's all bummed out because he gets bummed out a lot. Like they throw a shake at him, the Cobra Kai guy.
they always say like Cobra Kai never die and stuff, and I'm like, wasn't that Goonies? The Goonies never say die
Yeah.
or whatever. So why did they why when did that become a thing? Because in the first movie, Cobra Kai, they never said they never die. They say no mercy. They say which the funniest thing, I wanted to bring this up on Facebook, but I just didn't want people to go, "Oh, it's just a fucking movie." I'm like, "Of course it's just a movie," but
Or the one
this
guy that always calls you a geek.
or nerd.
Geek,
That's
nerd.
Vincent. That's Vincent Pereira, and he's allowed to.
That
Um,
it is funny because that's all he writes is
oh
geek.
yeah, I'll be like, "I'm having the greatest day in the world." He's like, "All I heard was the I'm having the nerdiest day in the nerd world," and right. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's so funny, and everybody catches it. So it's like, I just lean in with it. I just let them do it. And then on text, we'll text each other nerd, or geek, dork, whatever. So anyway, in the thing he says, in the movie, he kind of has that. I just lost my train of thought because we got off on that tangent. What were we just talking about? We're talking about Daniel, right? Fuck. Um, uh,
Daniel Cobra Kai with Johnny. Does anybody call him Cobra Kai? We talk about that.
no.
This.
That wasn't it. Fuck. Oh my God.
Well, while you think, I'll pose this question to you. Would you rather have a Rocky Creed marathon or a Karate Kid Cobra Kai marathon?
Karate Kid. No doubt. Mm. I it's weird. I didn't grow up on Rocky. Like I didn't. Like I found that when I was a kid, Rocky was boring to me. It was the first movie was a drama. It wasn't the series that it became. You know, the first movie is a drama, and just
It is a
like
drama.
First Blood is a drama that just happens to have some action in it or whatever throughout it. But it's a drama about a dude with PTSD. That movie would bore me to tears as a kid because I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. Don't give a fuck, you know, and stuff. So as a kid, I grew up on the Karate Kid because he was a kid. I could relate to him, you know. The same,
A 30-year-old kid, but
22, but he's
was he
20.
22 at the
He
time?
was 22 when he actually did that. Nobody believed him on the set. But yeah, no, I'd rather have a Karate Kid thing. I'm trying to remember what I brought something
And
else.
I thought in The Outsiders when Ralph Macchio was in that, I thought he was at least 40.
He wasn't. He was not. But he now, like he looks so young anyway, whatever. But he was older
Do it for
than
Johnny.
he was older than
Got to do it for Daniel.
16, 17, which he was supposed to portray. But most people are like it's very random and seldom that they aren't. Yeah, goddamn. I had a thing I was gonna bring up. I should have wrote it down. It was from in the Karate Kid. There were things that I was just like, this this wouldn't be real. This isn't realistic at all because of certain things.
Well, they never do homework.
It's true. They never do homework. Yeah, you never see Daniel actually. You only see him doing stuff in like the karate stuff, right? So you don't see him doing home. Well, no, you see him doing something when no, he's doing the karate. He's doing the karate that he's practicing when Mr. Miyagi comes to visit him.
Yeah, he's doing
But
it
he's
for the
never,
book.
yeah, from the book, but he's never doing like homework from anything.
Yeah,
But
you
his
never really
mom,
see them in class or anything.
you do a little bit but
Well,
you don't.
PE.
Or you see him running out of the class to go stalk
Yeah, but you don't see him like,
stalk
in
the
history class or biology class and normally in something like this, like if they're in like a history class, the teacher will be teaching something that
something historical.
resembles, yeah, like historical that would resemble what our hero is going through.
Well, yeah, but that's bullshit, and I hate when they do that. And so I'm glad that they didn't have any of that bullshit in here. Um, but yeah, I I just felt like some of the stuff that was in here was definitely wasn't realistic. Uh, like, well, I mean, I absolutely love that Mr. Miyagi jumped the students, but like, how did he know he was out there? Like, did Mr. Miyagi
Because
follow him?
no, behind the fence is his little house thing, like the little maintenance guy place.
Is it?
Yeah,
How do we know that? Do we know that?
because
Is
you could
that
see
like
it. Yeah, it's right there. It's right there's like a dumpster, and
so?
then there's his
So
place.
the apartment complex, because it was on the apartment
He
complex, right?
ran from the high school all the way to the apartment complex.
So the apartment complex is right next to the high school. I guess that makes sense because doesn't he
Mm,
like ride his bike or something, at one point or whatever to the
yeah,
school?
and he takes like the back roads because there's like
Yeah,
construction going on. So maybe that's why he's at that school because he's like right next to it,
yeah,
which means he shouldn't live in a shitty area because
yeah,
if Allie and Johnny go to that school, this
yeah.
doesn't make
That's
sense. It doesn't.
yeah.
But I don't care how good Mr. Miyagi is. I don't think that he could take those kids on. I
Well,
think
especially the
that he
way
would
he
have had
did
his
it
ass
just
kicked.
seemed like really fake, like, and everything. I don't know.
I
Um,
mean, it's nice. It shows us that he's like you mentioned Yoda. It shows that he's like Yoda. It doesn't matter how big you are or tall or whatever.
he can
He can
still
still
take you.
kick their
Well,
asses. Yeah.
also, there's that scene. Okay, so he jumps in. This wasn't what I was going to talk about before, but this is something that bothered me when I watched it. He jumps in, and the guys just stand there and wait for him to just kick everybody, and then they take turns, and I'm like, and then I've discussed this, I think, on my No Retreat, No Surrender interview before, but in real life, people don't wait for a fight. If somebody is
It's a movie
attacking, they're
thing.
all gonna. It is, but it's
But
annoying.
I
It's
think
not
that's
real.
also a martial arts thing where you always have all the ninjas circling the guy in the middle, but only one ninja goes at a time.
Hmm.
Like he gets punched out, then the second guy comes in, then he gets punched out, then it's none of them all the way. They never go in all at once. It's like um Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. A friend of mine said, "Why didn't the Green Hornet take off Spider-Man's mask like when he was
Right.
unconscious?" And I said, "Because it's respect of the mask. You don't do that. You have to leave it on."
I remembered what I was gonna say. So,
Okay,
and
okay.
this kind of goes with this. Um, but in the karate dojo, you hear Kreese say, uh, we don't train to be merciful here. Mercy is for the weak. And man in streets, competition, he is the enemy, whatever, right? And at one point in late earlier, I think uh when Daniel's there, he says, what is the way we fight, right? And they go, the way of defense, sir, right? He goes, and what is that way? And he goes, strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That would be the way of offense. Strike first is offense, not defense. How are you defending yourself if you're punching somebody in the face? Defense would be blocking or running away. That's the art of defense, the way of defense. So I'm like, why do they say the way of defense? Does that just go to show how messed up the school is? Cobra Kai is? That they don't understand what even defense means?
Maybe because I'm guessing Kreese wants them to punch first, while Mr. Miyagi is saying,
Defend yourself.
defend yourself.
The first thing he teaches him is how to block, not how to punch. Remember, Ralph Macchio wanted to learn how to punch and how to kick. And basically, he's telling him, you need to learn how to defend yourself first, which at one point he asked him how, can he learn how to do the crane kick? And he said, one must learn how to, uh,
Balance, I think he said.
something before you can learn to fly, or whatever. Walk before you can learn to fly, something like that. And I was like, that's true. Like he's teaching him the fundamental things he needs to learn to be better. And this is why at the end of the movie he wins, as opposed to the bad guys who cheat. They do whatever they can to win, which I mean, if Johnny had won because his leg was broken and he couldn't compete at the end, right? He couldn't have that final battle. Um, would Johnny have really felt okay with that? Probably. But I mean, normal person wouldn't, right? They'd be like, I
I
kind of
don't know about
cheated in
that
order
because
to.
it's he's following Kreese, but at the same time, if he just won by default, how is that? You're not really, you are winning, but you're not winning.
Yeah, you're winning
Wh-
because
Which
you.
is what Miyagi says to Daniel, which is you don't have to go back out there. You already proved yourself,
Yeah,
which could have been the Rocky ending.
yeah.
If Daniel just went, yeah, you're right. Let's go get a pizza. It would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, he defended himself. He kicked everybody's ass, and Johnny cheated.
I'm sorry, but that would have been the best ending ever. I would have loved that ending. He just looks at him and he goes, he's like, you're right, Mr. Miyagi. Let's go get a pizza.
Let's go get a
And then
pizza.
they go out and get a pizza. And then you zoom on Pat Morita just smiling.
Eating a slice of pizza
Eating-
freezes. You're the
We don't
best
even need that. We
around.
just need him smiling, leaving, the
Because
thing.
he's
Yeah.
going to go get pizza because he's hungry.
The movie was already 2 hours and 5 minutes long. I mean, they could have trimmed it right there and it would have been fine. Um, but no, I mean, at the end, the whole point was that he had learned all of these things he needed to know, as opposed to if you watch the Sensei Kreese's stuff, all the stuff in at the Cobra Kai dojo is all punching and kicking and stuff, like barely any like blocking, or anything, right? Because their style is strike first, right? Their
Right.
style is, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. So we don't, we, and Mr. Miyagi has that great line of there's no such thing as a bad student, only a bad teacher, which you might be able to disagree with in some cases, but in this case, no, he's absolutely right. The teacher is teaching them this stuff and they are learning from him. In Cobra Kai, you tend to learn that Kreese became sort of the father figure to Johnny because he had a really shitty father who didn't care about him and
Yeah,
stuff
like
like that.
Ed Asner is the yeah, the stepdad.
I love seeing Ed Asner in that. But yeah, it's great because it that sort of gave you a little bit more backstory to Johnny, which we never really got because all we see him is him fighting him treating Daniel like crap, treating you know treating Elizabeth Shue like crap, Allie with an I like crap, everybody, and then at the end he says you're the you won, Daniel, great. And I was like, now I'm like thinking about it going, why did he do that? Why did he turn like that at the end?
Well, because they mention in the documentary, there's two things that they mentioned that I thought were interesting is where on the Halloween when they're beating up Daniel,
Mm.
and I think it's Bobby. I think it's the same guy who goes up at the tournament and goes, "I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." I think he was the more sympathetic guy, but is the writer says when Johnny was going to kick Daniel for the final time, that he was going to kill him, that he's going off of what Kreese has taught them, and that if Johnny did get that kick in, that Daniel would have been dead and that Johnny would have had no problem with that. But at the very end, when Kreese says, to him,
Sweep the
like,
leg.
sweep the leg, is you do get that shot of Johnny's face and he's just looking in his eyes, kind of looking back and forth, like, who is this guy? Like, what have I gotten myself into?
But he
Like, thank God
still
this
comes
guy's a
out there like
monster.
he's gonna do, like, and he does still sweep the
I
leg
think
a little
I think
bit.
it's confusion in
Um,
everything. And then
but he
like he
doesn't
doesn't know
sweep it
what
too
to
hard. He just
do.
knocks him down a little bit from the leg and everything. He
Yeah,
tries
so
to
I think that's why he hands him, which is like the Rocky stuff is, except for I think
Apollo,
one or
which
two movies,
pisses me
they
off because Apollo at the end of Rocky one is like, Rocky, you did a you did a great job, blah blah blah. Like he actually is nice to him at the end of Rocky two, or in the beginning of, or in Rocky two, he's like, man, you suck. I'm gonna fight you again. It's like he like lost that character that he
it's because
built.
I don't think that they were planning on a franchise. And at the end of Rocky, both of them say there will be no rematch.
Right.
They say that like five times
Even in Rocky
each
2, he said there'll be no
at the
rematch, and
very
then
beginning as they're
the
going to the
beginning,
hospital.
yeah,
Yeah, there will be no rematch, but then they have to make Apollo all evil to get that rematch.
Which is just
And
stupid. I
then
hated that crap.
because you see at the end, with Karate Kid, with Johnny saying, here, man, like you deserve this, you're awesome. Then that ending that then was on Karate Kid 2, where Kreese is just like beating him up.
Or yeah, breaks his second place trophy or whatever,
Yeah.
and
So
you
like
know,
Johnny might be a little soft at that point, like Kreese thinks he's soft because he did that. And then later on, of course, this has cracked me up with this entire movies and series is this shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Terminants don't matter. It just, they don't matter. None of this stuff matters.
yeah,
This is not important. And to make this their entire existence, to me, is hilarious. That,
yeah.
with Daniel, with the
In
car
Cobra Kai,
dealership.
he's got like the
Yeah, he's got the
trophy inside
Bond
his.
Street. Yeah, he's got all this stuff, in his advertisements,
It's
or
all
the
karate
bonsai
because
tree.
he won one,
Yeah,
no,
and then
two
yeah,
tournaments because he won the other one against the Mike Barnes guy in part
yeah, yeah.
threes. So he's
And for
won two
some reason,
tournaments.
everybody in the valley knows who he is.
Yeah.
Like
He's the
like he really is the best
And
around.
the funniest
And
thing
then
is
Johnny,
In Cobra Kai, does the wax on, wax off thing as like a joke in the to wax off your prices or whatever and stuff like
oh
that.
yeah,
And I'm like,
no,
wait,
how
does
would
anybody even
anybody
yeah,
know?
or the
They
bonsai
wouldn't.
tree? Like nobody knows what any of this stuff
People
is.
would have to know who Mr. Miyagi is. People would have to know, like, if there was a documentary on him. That it's and then the same thing with Johnny is like he's now this loser who's a drunk who lives in squalor, all
Because he
because
lost
he didn't win.
one tournament, which I guarantee you he's still stuck with Kreese after that, for a little bit longer, even though
Probably.
Kreese almost attacked him or whatever,
Because
and
his dad's
stuff.
not going to do anything. His dad's gonna be like,
Right.
"Don't be a pussy."
Yeah.
You
So
know, it's
yeah.
from what we saw with Cobra Kai with the flashbacks, and it cracks me up when I see. So that's something that I would like to actually talk to the writers about. Is this something that you guys think is truly important? Like everybody thinks about this stuff, or is this kind of a joke that
Yeah.
their
Like,
entire existence is based off of this
like,
one match?
because that one match, all of a sudden the Cobra Kai dojo disappears and everything, and like nobody trusts Kreese or something. And so all of a sudden,
It still came in
you know,
second.
yeah, and all of their guys did a badass job. Like it just came down to Ralph, and I'm glad it came down to Ralph because then what? It would have been Johnny and another Cobra Kai guy fighting each other, and Johnny would have won, and then it
Yeah, yeah.
like
It's like,
you know
yeah, yeah, because they that's in the documentaries. They point out that he's the only person that's
yeah,
part of the Miyagi dojo. That's
right.
it. Yeah. What if he did? What if he lost?
That's why I sort of love that. Like I sort of love that he was the only one because we got more focus on him, and it wasn't about like in Cobra Kai there's like 10 people in the fucking thing that you're focusing on, and they're both
Right.
Cobra Kai and they're both Miyagi-Do, so they're like, oh my god, there's like 10 people and I don't know who I'm really rooting for to win, right? This, you're like, fucking Ralph from Machio better fucking win, and he does, and but he fights, but you see all the bad guys fighting, fighting those people, like those dudes doing those crazy flips and shit. I'm like, that's not fucking karate. That's fucking like judo or some shit or taekwondo, but it's not fucking karate. You don't see people doing like flips like that and shit. No, if I did flips like that in my karate studio, my sensei would have laughed at me and probably told me to get the fuck out. you know?
I mean, I'm guessing, yeah, I mean, it's got to be just kind of like more Hollywood type karate because the referee is the guy who did all of the karate stuff with them. So he's
Right.
like an actual karate person. So is the
I love
writer.
that guy. Like I loved him in the movie because it looked like he looked like a real referee that you would have saw there,
Yeah, so
So
you would think he would probably say, nah, but maybe because it's a movie. Peter Benchley told Spielberg nobody is going to believe that a shark is going to jump on the back of a boat. And Spielberg said, I got 2 hours to make them believe it. And he did.
there you go.
So, I mean, I guess maybe it's like, yeah, that maybe they wouldn't do that type of flip or something, but it's Hollywood, so
It's
we got to give
Hollywood,
them
baby.
something. Plus, I don't believe that there'd be that many people watching the tournament because once again, who cares? The place would
Um,
probably be like a quarter full. I don't,
yeah, maybe,
I
but
really,
I
I mean,
actually been to one of the tournaments. I've been to an AAU tournament for karate, and they actually do get pretty full, you know. But usually it's like family and friends and everybody who's really rooting for. I actually got I'm correct, I got a couple gold medals from there too. I just
oh,
don't
look
know
at
where they
you.
are. You know, I got a gold medal and a couple gold medals and a bronze. You know, did pretty well for myself for my first year there, and I think that was the only year I did it because my this goes to Karate Kid, but also goes to my life. When I was growing up and I knew about the tournament because of it, I had asked my sensei, my original sensei, like, do we do tournaments and stuff? And he said, no, we don't do tournaments like at this school. You know, we don't find them, whatever. Then I had another teacher, sensei, who took over when my sensei went to go work as a chef slash sensei at another, like in another city and state or something. He had his own, he actually owned his own, uh, like restaurant slash dojo. His dojo was above the restaurant, and my dad said you should call it kung food. And my dad told him that. And then he kind of laughed, he chuckled, and he goes, and then so my dad and I were talking about that afterwards, and we said the mascot could be the Taekwondo boy. You know,
Oh, jeez.
there was some cheesy, they would sell judo chop salad there,
That
you
sounds
know.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that sounds like a theme restaurant. But anyway, point is he went to do that, and I had a new instructor, new sensei who came in, and that new sensei was like, we're going to do tournaments, we're going to do a tournament, so we did. I think at least one. I don't know if he did more later or not, but I did that one tournament and I had so much fun. I really enjoyed it and everything. And you basically, you don't just do, it's not just kumite, which is what they did, right, where it's just fighting each other. It was katas, and I think they show that more in Cobra Kai. If I'm correct, they did katas and some other stuff in the tournament there. It wasn't just people fighting each other, but that was a big thing, So you had to show your form when you're doing your katas, and which is funny because everybody is from different karate studios, companies and stuff, styles. So I don't know if they just judge you on you doing like the form, and that's it. Because they don't know. Like I could mess up and they might be like, oh, I don't, okay, that happened, Like they wouldn't know that that was a mess up, because they were just making sure you had the right form. Yeah. So anyway, that's how the tournaments are really, really done. And yeah, there are a lot of people, but it's usually family, friends, and people, just spectators who want to come check out karate, thing. And AAU is a little bigger, you know, so not this All Valley Championship, thing, which was just fake for the movie, or the
Right.
franchise, and explored more in Cobra Kai, which I thought, if you're, was excellent, because if you're going to do a TV series, that's one cool thing to explore, is like, how do these things get organized, and can they ban people and shit like that. So I like that. They banned Cobra Kai at one point or whatever because of fucking Terry Silver and his shit in part three, and Mark Barnes, like all that
Right.
stuff, illegal shit. And so I love that. I thought that was cool, and I loved everything in this movie because it just starts it all off, you know. So I think that's about it. Like we really, I did
Yeah.
not. I
Well,
expected
let
this to
me
be an hour, and it was a lot longer.
no, it is much longer than that. So let me do my money thing that I like to do. So
Yes,
the first movie, which we did say was 1984. My God, the budget was only $8 million.
$8 million in 1984 is probably like 20 million today. I'd
Yeah.
imagine something like that, maybe
Yeah.
15 million more.
But
Some
even
it was
back
more than
then,
8 million.
that kind of shows they had no faith. And but it made 130.8 million.
Well, that's why they got a franchise out of it,
Yeah.
because the first movie did so well. And as you said, it seemed to be word of mouth. Nobody knew what Karate Kid was. Then all of a sudden it was everywhere. I remember having it on Betamax and just watching it over and over and over again, probably in the same day. I don't know if you've ever done that, but I've watched movies like I was like, that's so good, I want to watch it again. And I would watch it
I've done it
again.
once or twice.
Yeah, and I love that kind of stuff. So I grew up doing that. Now I can't do that because I have to watch a movie and then watch another movie and then watch another movie and I review these things. I don't have any time to just like enjoy just watching movies or something, you know.
Well,
But
and I want to add this in before we go. So the remake, which we said was 2010, so Jackie Chan is Mr. Han, and then Jaden is Dre.
right.
And it does say uses ancient Chinese medicine methods. So yeah,
Well,
coming up Kung Fu tournament. So this is Chinese. This is they just use Karate Kid in the title.
it was
It's
Kung
all
Fu.
Chinese.
It was Kung Fu. It was, and
Yeah,
it's, I think they
but
even say Kung Fu in the movie from what I ever understood. So,
oh god, there's a longer. Oh my god. So we got a 140-minute version. That's way too long. But there's a Hong Kong China cut that's 132.
of
So it's
the,
actually cut for international audiences, but its budget, damn it, 40 million and it made 359.1 million.
yep, made
Fuckers.
more than the original. I mean, and
Fuckers.
that's why,
This is
but
going
it
to
was
end up in
so
my
like
collection. I know it.
hated by everybody that they couldn't make a sequel out of that, because you would think like they would have made a sequel if it did that well. But the problem is if a movie is so universally hated, they don't like, I guarantee you, I have this feeling, even though they paid for whatever, there's not going to be another Exorcist Believer 2, they're not going to continue with that. They're just going to do something else with it or something if they feel like it. But when the movies are universally hated, they do not want to, even though the movie might make, you know, billions of dollars, if people don't like it or aren't happy with it, they understand nobody wants to see a sequel, you know, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it would have been any different if it wasn't Jaden Smith. I did watch like a documentary on him on YouTube, and I kind of feel sorry for the guy in a way
I
because it just really sounds like Will and Jada just screwed him up, just really messed him up.
I
And
think
and
Jada
so
especially. I mean, didn't she sleep with his like best friend and shit?
yeah,
And
yeah.
stuff like that.
And
Like,
and they don't punish. So if he wanted to rob a liquor store, he could go do it and they wouldn't do anything. I mean, that was the big thing is that they just let him do anything he wanted.
so that's why they bought him this movie for his
They
birthday.
bought, from what I understand, is he said, "Dad, I want to do a Karate Kid movie," and they purchased the rights to it for his birthday, and that's why they're
Well, I
producers.
mean, one thing I am happy about is that they purchased the rights, which meant that it got made because Karate Kid 3, I think, and the next Karate Kid did not well enough for them to just say, let's make another one, So I don't know what was the budget slash thing for next Karate Kid, because that's the one that really matters because that was the one that, all of a sudden that one didn't do well enough, I don't think. I think that was a bomb, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it
Let's
didn't
see.
do well at all.
Yeah, it was
I remember laughing at it.
budget was 12 million. The gross was 15, which is not even double
No,
the amount.
that
So
that's
yeah,
that's a
it
bomb.
did not do well. So they said, we're done with Karate Kid. Like nobody wants to see nobody wanted to see somebody that they didn't. Here's what people don't understand about sequels. You can't make, not many sequels are good without the original cast members. This is why Scream, whatever, is going to have its problems and stuff, is because unless you do a remake and reboot, and have a completely different cast, you are going to have a bad rep because you have to bring
Uh,
back Nev, you have to bring back,
Well,
you
yeah, I
know,
mean, you got to bring back something. I mean, compare Ghostbusters 2016 to
they had the original cast, but
Afterlife.
as different characters. They weren't Peter
Right. Oh no, but
Venkman.
what I mean is, remember in Ghostbusters 2016, it had the original Ghostbusters in it, just not as the
That's
Ghostbusters.
what I'm
They made
saying. They had them,
cameos,
but they weren't.
but they were so poorly utilized that, to the point of them wanting to sue the studio, wanting to sue Bill Murray, which is why he was forced to do it, and why he's sitting in
I
a
think you told me
chair.
that before. Yeah, you
Yeah,
sat in your
and
chair and
then
just said, yeah.
but then in Afterlife, they're actual Ghostbusters, and the film did really well. So I think it's how you
And they're in
utilize
the next
the
one too.
characters.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so it's how you utilize the characters. Karate Kid 1 had Ralph Macchio back, Pat Morita back, in part two, like part two. And then I think the mom wasn't back or whatever, but it was fine. We had the first two guys and we had the scene with Kreese and everything. So
that's the
we
funniest stuff in part two. Yeah, well, since Allie dumped me, oh yeah, my mom moved back to New Jersey.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's like
no,
has
either
to
they
explain
didn't want to
why
do it or you
we're
just
not
didn't
going to see
ask.
any of these people in the sequel, and then all of a sudden they go to they go to Okinawa anyway, And I love how Ali said like you remind him of a uncle he had in Tokyo. And I'm like, he's Okinawan, but she doesn't know that, I guess. So it's okay for her to just come up with the first Japanese place she could think of, you know? I'm surprised Pat Morita just didn't look at her like, or whatever. But I did love that scene because she said, he doesn't speak English, right? And he's saying all these lines. Then he says, thank you. He goes, you're welcome. He walks away.
Yeah, that's funny. And she probably was, yeah, just naming off some place
Yeah, because her
that she
character
knew.
didn't know. This is like the first time meeting Miyagi. I think like she had never met him before. Like, and then she was like supposed to be his assistant or whatever, and she didn't even he's talked about and he's talked about Ali, I'm sure, right? That's it. They
Oh
never
yeah,
met
he
each
does
other.
talk to her about her. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
Because
talk about each
she
other.
completely disappears from the movie when he's training.
Yeah, she disappears, and then reappears he after he gets the license, and then he knows exactly where she is. Stalking. He
Weird,
knows
weird.
exactly where she is later when she's I guess at the pier or whatever, when she's playing games or whatever. So
He
like,
tracked her with a 1984 version of GPS.
I don't know.
Like had like a pigeon follower or something.
Maybe she had one of those big ass cell phones, the ones that then Saved by the Bell, I always say, but it's like the brick,
The giant ones, yeah,
Yeah,
with
the
the
giant
long
ones.
antenna.
Yeah, long antenna. And then he tracked her through that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But anyway, whatever. She was not there, so Mr. Miyagi didn't know her, and so they're that was interesting that was their first scenes, is like them working together, like helping Daniel be the best around,
Around.
you know.
Nothing's ever gonna keep us down. We're the best around.
And that's what this
Blah 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 blah
podcast
blah blah
is, even
blah.
though this was way longer than planned. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't think the second one, when I do this with Joe Turk wants to do the second movie. I think he has like a kinship for it. Also, the reason he didn't do the first with me is because we already did the first for Film Freaks, and Paul did not want to be on that. Paul does not like this series of stuff. So
That was crazy.
Paul it's got kids, okay? And the only kids he apparently likes is Fast Times at Ridgemount High. And I'm like, okay, that was like 2 years earlier than this movie. So I don't get any. He does like Back to the Future, which has kids, but I don't know. It's
Oh,
the
adults playing
1950s.
kids, I guess.
Every movie usually has adults playing kids,
Well, fuck, look at Porky's.
Yeah.
They literally were like 30 playing 16-year-olds.
Yep. And I
I
think
think
that
they're
was
like
always,
almost 50 by the third movie.
yep. Well, everybody, hope you guys enjoyed this. Join me next month for a brand new episode where Joe and we haven't recorded it, so I hope it gets recorded before then, but we'll see. Record an episode where we're going to be talking about Karate Kid 2, where they go to Okinawa and crazy shit happens. And that's how I'm going to describe it.
They meet up with oh God, what's his name? Chance, Patience. What's the villain's name?
Oh God, was it Chance? Chosen.
Chosen.
That's right. He was
Love
chosen.
Chosen. He's so good in Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah.
Love Chosen.
Oh man, he be him him and Ralph Macchio kind of teaming up to fight the what was his name? Mike Barnes or whatever. Just so funny. Oh man. By
Love,
the way, I
love him.
interviewed the guy who played Mike Barnes, and when I interviewed him, it was before he came to be in the Cobra Kai, so he could not tell me he was in this show, but I had like a sinking suspicion when he was talking about Karate Kid stuff that he came back already.
I knew before they did it because he was doing some interviews. I'm like, why is
Yeah.
he now doing interviews?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the next season. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. They have to get him like some recognition, I guess. Let people know,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's still around, which is great because I love him. I've loved him, and he's. I mean, I had did some background stuff and I watched some of the stuff, but he actually has a series that he's put out that's on Amazon. It's really good. It's a soap opera thing, and he was really big on soap operas. So my mom like knew who he was, like very well, which is so funny to me. Like when my mom's like, "Oh, I like that guy. I like Bruce Campbell. He's on that show," you know, and I'm like, "I know him from Evil
I
Dead," but
like that Bruce Campbell. I like
yeah,
the Bruce Campbell.
then the Bruce Campbell from Burn Notice, right? Like, oh,
That's a good show.
she keeps thinking I met him, and I've never met him yet. I've seen him at a couple conventions, but I met Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi, but did not get to meet Bruce yet. But if I ever do, that's great. If I don't, I mean, it's just life. Like, you just
Not that
gotta
hard to
look at
meet
it
the
like
guy
that.
if you just have the budget and can have him in your movie. There you go. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, if you had the budgets, like millions and millions of dollar budget, because I don't think he'll be in a movie for like 20 grand, you know.
I don't know. He's been in some pretty low budget stuff like that zombie retail movie he made.
That's true,
That
but
I don't think
I still think that's like at
so.
least a couple million,
It might
because
be.
they had to rent
But
out
if
a
that's their budget, a couple
yeah,
million, which means he took
right.
under.
Then he's a little cheaper than that, I'm sure, but I'm just saying it's still like I haven't made a movie for a
He,
million
I,
yet.
I mean,
So
he could be one of those guys where you hire him for 2 or 3 days and that's it. You just sprinkle him throughout the whole movie.
yeah, you
So,
still got to pay his rate.
but stay on target.
We're
Stay
about to
on
leave,
target.
so that's it. That's it, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Join us next month. Until then, bye, everybody. Thank you, John.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.